Some might call us impulsive. I think we had a Friday night. It's Cus I Wanna on the line. Seth, Andrews, Forrest, Valkai, my brother in the Lord. Good to see you. How you doing?
Happy to be here, man. How are you?
You are genuinely bobbing, like you were actually bobbing on the show. So,
I can't help it. Can't help it. It just the excitement exudes from me.
Welcome tonight. And I'm not too particular. If somebody wants to dial in and defend the Bible, okay, we can do that. Or if there's something else that's on your mind, we can cast a wider net tonight. It's a tad more informal. So you tell me what you want to talk about. And then we will do super chats at the end. So if you want to support the channel with a super chat, can I put a minimum on that? We'll call it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
What's a good number for a minimum?
$500.
How about $20?
$500.
How about 20? Right. 20.
Sure.
Is 20 too much? Am I being too ambitious?
It's a high number.
Let's do 10.
Okay. If you want to be a bougie bitch, you can be a bougie bitch.
Let's do 10. We'll do it. $10 super chats will be read, and we're going to tack those on to the last portion of the broadcast. I just, FYI, have been working since Forrest is with me here on the show. I've been working on trying to get a speaking gig together with Forrest, Gutsick Gibbon, and myself, because Forrest lives a stone's throw from me, and Eric is like an hour and 20 minutes, Forrest? Something like that?
Something like that.
And
wherever
so I'm like,
is.
I really want to do a local thing with the three of us in late February or early March. So I am, as we speak, I've been looking at conference centers, and I've been looking at this area, and here's a university locally that's got a room, and then you've got to insure them, and then what are the tickets going to look like? So normally you and I are guests at events, and I'm, for the first time in a long time, since 300 Live, which was, wherever 500 some shows ago, I am actually trying to put something together. But if that happens, it will be hosted in Tulsa, and I'll make a big noise about it on my pages. And I think that'd be fun. I mean, the three of us on stage, we'll just have a roving microphone. Everybody can ask questions, sound off. It'd be a party, I think. So, and the beauty with Forrest and Erica, you don't have to do any prep. You just say one or two syllables, and they go off, and they're gone. They just take off. So,
depending on where you get us in the semester, we may be like really hyped about what we've been studying that semester. Or like we're just rambling about midterms for a while. It'll be great.
Jesus, you're still
in school? Dread.
You're still? Yeah. I know she's this close to a PhD. You're back or still in school?
I'm that close from a PhD. I started a PhD program in this fall because I did the second master's because I would never do a PhD. And then I got invited to speak at a university, and the head of the department that invited me to speak was like, why don't you do a PhD? And I told him why I never do a PhD. He was like, okay, cool. You want to do a PhD here? And I was like, yeah. so now I'm there.
But are you one of those guys, once you get the doctorate, you'll find an excuse to go back to college? I mean, there are some people who, for some reason, have a compulsion to enroll. You know what I'm saying? Are you that guy?
Yeah, very much so. I can't. I hate not learning things. I hate not knowing things. And why the fuck am I gonna study something on my own when I can go have an expert in the field teach it to me and give me a cool piece of paper saying that I know it? You know what I mean? Like what is it? And I feel like if I get enough, when I get to like maybe 30 degrees, then maybe I won't have imposter syndrome anymore. Maybe then I'll have the academic validation that I need to believe in myself. But as it is, it's just I know how much I don't know, and every time I learn something really cool and do another achievement, all I know from that is how much I don't know about that topic that I just got a degree in. So I just feel stupider and stupider. And yeah, the cool thing is, before I did this, I was planning on going back to the basics and doing a bachelor's in something totally different, because there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't know about these other sciences. And I just found a way to work that into the science that I did know. So instead of going back and starting fresh in biology or psychology and sociology, I took on a fucking doctorate in biochemistry and molecular biology and just worked psychology into that by studying neurochemistry.
If that does happen and you end up with the doctorate, I will tell everyone that you pulled a Kent Hovind and you went to a mobile home diploma mill in Colorado somewhere, and you just went in and paid $150, and that's how you got your PhD. I'm going to tell them that.
That would be exceedingly funny, especially because I have a plan to do something like that as a joke in the future anyway. And so, like, I'll tell you after the show because I don't want to say it publicly, but I've got a plan for a video that I'm working on. I'm working on a video, and it's got something like that in it. And
I love it.
Like, it's a future idea, but it will tie in brilliantly to the lore that we are building about whatever my dumbass career
I love it. I love it. I just got a certificate I was speaking in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they gave me a framed certificate. I'm trying to remember. They've shipped it to me and it hasn't arrived yet, but it's something along the lines of certificate of deconversion or, something along those lines. And there was a very ornate paragraph and a signature talking about how that all of the attributes that came with my religiosity have now been effectively withdrawn, and I qualify for humanism or secular or something like that. And I'm I ended up hanging that one up. I'm going to be talking to Secular Hub in Denver on the 6th of December. And you can go to my website, sethandrews.com, to see details. But after that, Natalie's going to finally come with me on a trip. She normally doesn't get to travel with me. And we're going to attempt snow skiing. Now, it's only been 35 years for me. 35 years. And she's never been. And I said on the broadcast of my own, I said, I'm trying to decide which ACL I would like to tear. Or am I going to pull a Sonny Bono and just like literally go over the side and hit a tree? I don't know. I'm terrified and semi-excited. If anybody has snow skied and has advice, put it in the comment section because I'm a minnow.
Just don't. Don't is the advice.
Have you ever gone? Have you ever attempted it?
No, I'm almost 35 years old soon in a couple of years, and so like I don't have the space for that to be a thing in my life. However, I will also be in Denver in a couple of days on the 13th, which is next Thursday, I believe. I'll be speaking at Metropolitan State University. You can find out about that on my channel if you want to go over there and check my community posts. I've got the thing is for the Secular Student Alliance. So if you're in Denver, go see me and then just sit there for a long time and then go see Seth. It'd be great.
What a small world it is. We're both doing Colorado. They say it's going to get super cold. I don't know how cold it gets in the Denver area. They're saying like freaking 20s. And here, I'm ready. So this was a gift. Hang on. This was a gift that I was given. I will get to the calls. We will in just a second. I was given these. These are USB cabled plug-in heated fingerless gloves. So whenever things get really, 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 really cold, I can still type, but I have cabled USB.
Like that's
come on.
The coolest. That's like future technology from 2002. You know what I mean? Like that's the shit you saw on Spy Kids, where it's like I've got wires to my gloves that keep my hands, and now everyone else in the world in today's time is like, yeah, awesome. I bought some fucking little. I actually, this is a true story. I do have little hand warmers, like the hot hands, only they're rechargeable and they're electric and they're wireless and they just fit into anything and they're flat on one side and round on the other. So you can put them in your gloves and and I've got 2 pairs of those. They cost me like $20 and I don't have to have wired gloves like a fucking Neanderthal. Like what is that?
I guess it is sort of the Prodigy browser of technology, but it works. And I used to be a winter guy, and it's just getting harder. It's harder with small dogs if there's snow and ice. 3 inches of snow, Linus, you want to go outside? No, I finally get him to go out, and he steps onto the ice or the snow, and he literally disappears. So everything is a little harder, but we are preparing for that. Okay, did we want to attempt some calls, or did I interrupt you, Forrest, because you were about to expound?
No, it's okay. We can attempt calls. We have nobody. We have plenty of people calling in, but they're still in the screening room at this moment. So, like, if you want to just roll with the auto screener and everything like that, I'm sure that our producers won't care at all.
I don't want to break a rule. I use an auto screener on my own channel. So
yeah. We pay people.
And with
fancy.
mixed results. With mixed results. I just want to throw that out. And I mean, would I like to put all of the Lines call screeners in a van and drive them to my place, or to kidnap them for my shows? Yes, but no, I just simply do the auto thing. So I see it's Danielle at 306. Danielle, hang on, I got to hit a button here.
I'm calling in as some.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, you freaking monster.
Sorry, I'm just a creature of habit. Normally, if I see somebody on the switchboard, I just go click.
Right.
So, am I allowed to hit the button now, or do I have to wait and
Probably
fill?
like 30 seconds.
Okay. So, how are you?
I'm good.
Sorry.
Every time I go to Denver, it's awful and cold. And Jesse Jurdak lives there, and I visit him every time. And he's trying to convince me to move there. And he's like, I promise you, someday it will be warm and you'll be comfortable here. But every time I visit, no matter what time of year, it's like sub-zero and just a nightmare. And so I know that when I go there this time, I'm gonna visit him and I'm gonna hang out, and he's going to apologize, and it's gonna be great. And that's all I'm looking forward to. And he's in the chat right now, you son of a bitch. Can't wait to see you next week.
When
Go
I was
see
in
Jesse
Albuquerque,
Jurdak. He's around. I don't think he's doing an event right now, but just go find him. Go say hi.
one of the big attractions in Albuquerque, it's very touristy, but you take this tram like up a 2-mile cable all the way up to the top of a mountain, and you're over 2 miles above sea level, and it's a big thing, and the view is gorgeous, and there's a restaurant. So as I was there, a tourist, they said we should go do this. And so we're all waiting in the queue to get on. And Paul was my host, and he was like, like 20 years ago, this thing stalled. And the people were stuck up there for like 12 hours dangling. They looked like a big tea bag. And finally, they had to bring in helicopters. They had to have like people harness themselves and get swooped off via chopper. And then it's like, and it's time to get on, so we all get on. And as a joke, I'm surrounded by total strangers, and with a straight face, I looked at everybody and I said, I just want you all to know that if anything was to happen, you're welcome to use me as an alternate food source. Nobody laughed. They all just kind of edged
They sound
away.
lame. I'd be all about that.
It's like, I'm a giver.
Yes,
high
that's
protein,
kindness.
medium fat, seasoned, about 57 years. I mean, I'm just saying, I would do that.
You ever
Am
get
I
teabagged so long and so hard you had to get helicoptered out? It happens to the worst of us. It's terrible. Did you hear that Elon Musk, that nepotism, apartheid loving piece of shit that could have ended world hunger and promised to end world hunger if only anybody would tell him how, and then lots of people told him how, and then he pretended like it didn't happen, is about to become the world's first trillionaire? That Nazi salute doing, creepy, egotistical dumbass who's ruined everything he's ever touched and never built anything good in his life, and is only famous for being very rich because he was born benefiting off of one of the most evil systems in human history. That fucking idiot is about to become the world's first trillionaire. The guy who could very easily end like every problem that he benefits from, but instead he just continues to benefit from them. And there's a bunch of dumbasses who have to take breaks from gargling Trump's wrinkly old sack to buy one of his shitty, ugly ass cars every fucking month to prop up his failing company because he just keeps failing companies. That fucking idiot is about to get more rich than anybody in human history has ever been, except for, I guess, maybe like Mansa Musa, but who knows? Isn't that wild? Fuck that guy.
I'd like to see a transcript of everything you just said on a Substack article so that I could just share it outright. He was on Rogan recently, and they were, talking about the New York mayoral race. And the guy doesn't have any this boy genius bullshit. That just went right out the window. But I have been struck, and I know I'm not saying anything original because the meme verse is loaded with the reality that we live in a nation that has vilified the poor and worships the billionaires. They worship the wealth hoarders. And, that one meme that's like, if you saw a monkey that had hoarded 99.999% of all the bananas while the other monkeys were struggling and starving, you would study the hoarder to find out what the hell was wrong with him. But in the United States, we put them on the cover of Forbes, and then everybody says, I want to be like that. It's tremendous problem.
Yep. It's crazy. You were mentioning, cannibalism, and it just kind of got me thinking about some stuff, just about whatever. It's out of my mind. Just kind of wanted to talk about this.
That's a segue I had not intended. Please, cannibalism, take me somewhere interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what? That should be the title of the show. Cannibalism, take us somewhere interesting.
Take me somewhere interesting.
Let's talk about the rich. Let's talk about the very powerful. Let's talk about people like Taylor Swift who need a private jet to go from one end of their private jet to the other end of their private jet, and what they're doing for society.
Are you teeing somebody up? Is this for the callers, or is this rhetorical, or are you about to explode?
It's mainly rhetorical. We do have all the above. All the above. We do have some people finally into the host room, though, if you want to talk to them.
All right. So I am allowed to press the button to bring the caller on the show. I'm not jumping the gun, breaking a rule. Okay.
In the host queue, yes. Yeah.
Talk to me like a child. Use small words. Very, very few syllables. Use your hands, and I can be taught. Paul is dialing in. Is it out of Germany? Paul, you with us?
Hi.
Welcome to the show. You're on with Forrest Valkai and his, father figure, really. His mentor, his parole officer, his guardian. His designated driver, Seth Andrews.
That one.
That's what you got. What's up, Paul? What's happening?
I would really like to ask if there are any analogs to the trans people in the animal kingdom.
Good question. I don't know off the top of my head as far as direct analogs, because there's a lot of interesting things when we talk about sex and gender across the animal kingdom. As far as very strictly speaking, humans are the only animals that we can say for sure have a gender, because gender is necessarily a social thing that we can measure, and so we don't really have the metrics for that and other things. But in terms of if you get really, really fuzzy with sexuality and behavior, and you are deliberately muddying the waters a little bit to get talking about this stuff in a more interesting way. One of the more common examples people like to point out is whiptail lizards here in the US. They are entirely female, and so they do parthenogenesis. The entire species is female, and they lay eggs that are basically clones of themselves. But in order to self-fertilize the eggs, they need to engage in sexual behavior with another female who takes on the role of a male. They just don't have the parts. And so they go through the dance of sex with this other female lizard, acting as if they are having heterosexual sex. And then they are able to, that triggers the whatever biochemical thing that allows them to produce eggs of themselves. So there's cool shit like that. But in terms of actually talking about trans things specifically, you would need a gender to be transgender, and that's not something that we really measure in other species, as far as I know.
If I may, let me ask a question though: if human beings are the ones who have, we are conscious and we have evolved brains and are able to function in a way where we understand the nuances of sex and gender, we can study biology. We have the capacity for an understanding about the world we live in that the base animal kingdom does not yet have. I'm not saying that animals aren't intelligent, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. So does that play into it too? The fact that we now have enough knowledge, so much more knowledge, that we can actually begin to better interact with the questions about sex and gender? I'm asking you, Forrest. I don't know. Or Paul, actually. What do you think? Well, he's the biologist. I don't know. I'm just asking. What are your thoughts?
I was responding to someone in the chat. Could you please restate your question?
Jesus Christ. Childcare. Follow my voice. Follow my voice. Walk toward the light. My question in a nutshell is, if we, as the human primate, have evolved conscious thought, so that we can think about things and fully understand biology, etc., where lesser animals, for lack of a better way of saying it, cannot, then would that not be a part of how we address the issues of sex and gender, where the other animal kingdom, members of the other animal kingdom, are simply not at a point where they would be able to say, "Oh, we understand that, and we can we can reassign, and we can help someone have a physical body that more represents their internal sexuality." I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Our evolved self, does that a different set of rules?
There's a lot there, and like the thing is, number one, when we talk about like how we then the second half of that, how we address what we're discussing, transition isn't a necessary part of being trans. And so like that even that whole thing, like that's just a thing that happens with humans that we're doing right now. That's not necessarily connected to anything in terms of like our experience with it. That's what I meant when I was saying like kind of deliberately being fuzzy, because you can point to things like animals that change their sexes, animals that have sequential hermaphrodism, animals that have bidirectional hermaphrodism, animals that have bilateral gonadromorphy, animals that have all these different variations of sex and sexuality, and do what most humans do, which is conflate all of these things with gender and tie them all together and say, okay, so what does that mean? And how is this animal experiencing these things? Because it's ridiculous to suggest that animals don't experience things. We have examples of things all the way down to insects that engage in things like play and shit. So like clearly they've got like personalities, minds, feelings, no matter how rudimentary we may be able to say they are. And I would assume that there's no reason to suggest that doesn't stop when we're going all the way towards something as complicated as gender. It may be a rudimentary expression, but there's no reason to assume there is no such thing as expression in that way. We just don't know how to measure that yet. So I think to answer your question, yeah, kind of, but like more than anything, we overcomplicate it more than anything because we are so diverse and so complicated and so convoluted and so weird. We just make things more interesting and more fun.
I just picture the two ants, one ant looks at the other and he's like, where's something nice? Where's something exciting for me tonight, baby? Let's, I'm just play. Saw that. Paul, sorry, there's a lot that's been going on. Paul, are you still with us? Have we lulled you into a coma?
Also, are you still on there? Be wearing the nice thing they would be wearing for each other would be a pheromone, and that's fun to think about.
I'm still stuck on bilateral gynandromorphy.
Gynandromorphy.
Say it again.
Gynandromorphy. Bilateral GYNANDROMORPHY. Gynandromorphy.
What the fuck is that?
That's when you split straight down the middle. One half of the body is all male and the other half is all female. So you can see this in a lot of insects and birds, especially. Pull up one bilateral.
That would be a great name for an indie band. I'm just saying it out loud. Paul, while he's looking, what are your thoughts on what has been said so far? And, jump in. Don't let us.
Yes, it's very interesting. I certainly will have to listen to it at least 2 or 3 more times. But my question is it wrong to view it as kind of as a phenotypic thing?
Gender?
Yes.
I don't think I don't think that's out of the question. No, because like there's certainly not a genotypic thing, or maybe as far as we know, I don't know of any evidence of a genotypic thing. By the way, you can see on the screen here, I'm showing lots of pictures of bilateral gonadromorphs, and you can see it's a lot of insects and a lot of birds. But yeah, these guys literally just one half of the body is male, one half of the body is female. And that's just a cool thing that can happen in nature. Anyway, you're talking about like genotypic and phenotypic are the two options there, right? And we don't have, as far as I know, strong evidence of a genotypic side to gender. So yeah, I think it's reasonable to call it phenotypic. It may muddy the waters if you're talking to somebody who thinks that now you're talking about something that is purely, for lack of a better word, like diagnosable, But I think it's a reasonable way to call that. Yeah.
Would actually a particular structure in the brain be phenotypic?
Yeah, absolutely. So like if when we talk about like brain gender, there's a ton of stuff out there, old studies talking about how certain regions of the brain are more aligned with someone's gender identity than their sex assigned at birth. Those studies are, a couple decades old, and it's since then we've kind of started to learn that there's no real such thing as like man brain and woman brain, quote quote. The brain does have some sexually dimorphic regions, but they're not internally consistent and they don't always point in the same direction. And so what we end up with is a more mosaic kind of brain where you have, different pieces that point in different directions. And so it's not really super useful to try to just wholesale identify you have a man brain or whatever like that. You can have parts that point that way. That's pretty cool. But what's more important is activation patterns in the brain. So like we see trans people's brains operating in the way that their gender would be operating rather than their sex assigned at birth. So for example, to the two studies that I always point to that I think are really interesting. Number one is, what phantom limb pain is?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are trans phantoms. There are multiple studies showing that trans people have phantom pain, but instead of about a limb that they've lost, it's about body parts that they've never had, but are associated with a different gender. So they have the feeling of, whatever breasts, penis, hips, well, whatever thing that goes along with their ideal gender presentation, body parts they've never had before, but they feel them. And so this is a part of the, the brain is literally believing these things are here in the same way that if you were to lose your arm, your brain still thinks your arm is there. Also, there is this really cool study that a buddy of mine, a neuroscientist at Stanford, sent to me a while ago that I put in everything that I do about this since then.
Did you catch that? Buddy of mine at Stanford. Did you catch that?
I'm
sorry. Go ahead,
by
Forrest.
the way,
humble brag.
Humble brag. Who just published this book, Why Brains Need Friends? Shout out to Ben Ryan, really cool guy. Anyway, he's but yeah, he sent me this study that's just fucking awesome, where you have trans people are put into a brain scanner, monitoring their brain activity, and they're shown a computer generated image of their body morphing towards or away from their sex assigned at birth in terms of phenotype. And the exact same brain regions, the exact same activation patterns that we see in cisgender people watching their body morph towards their sex assigned at birth, we see in transgender people morphing away from their sex assigned at birth. And so their brain is just registering with this. It's not just a preference. It is recognition. It is how their brain recognizes themselves in their own body. And so it's just a super fucking cool thing that goes so far beyond the simplistic idea of just like, oh, this is just a preference or it's just what I want to be. It's no. This is how your brain identifies you. And it borders on that kind of reductive simplism of saying like you're born in the wrong body. According to your brain, literally, this doesn't match what's going on. And that's where you get that kind of that dysphoria, that disconnect. It's really fucking neat. So yes, it's very reasonable to call that phenotypic, and it's really, really cool.
Anything else, Paul?
No, that was actually all. Maybe one thing. How would you define a transphobe?
Transphobe is just the same as any other science denier. They're somebody who goes out of their way to ignore and argue against the academic consensus in this area in a way that suits their either bigotry or misunderstanding or misconceptions about biology, or just their personal cultural or religious preferences. So in the same exact way as a flat earther, an anti-vaxxer, a creationist, any other kind of science denial, it always boils down to some sort of conspiracy theory. It always boils down to their personal preference. It always boils down to some idea of the world being destroyed by this crazy ideology of reality. And it always boils down to every scientist is wrong, except for this small handful of scientists that I trust that say the things that I like. It's just the same shit. So yeah, a transphobe is just a science denier that denies the science of sex and gender rather than denying the science of vaccines, the age of the Earth, the shape of the Earth, evolution, whatever other thing.
Paul, thank you
Do
so
you
much for the
think-
call.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. Go ahead. Let's be fast.
No,
What else is on your mind?
I wanted to ask, are actions and statements necessary to be transphobic?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, there's plenty of racists out there who just have racist ideas but never do racist things. I mean, that's better. That's better than than going out and doing racist things. But it's better by far to just actually educate people, because you can't be racist if you're scientifically literate, right? If you understand biology, it's impossible to be racist. If you understand statistics, it's impossible to be racist. If you understand sociology, it's impossible to be racist. And so it's just like, in the same way, if you are up to date on modern biology, it's possible to argue about trans issues, and it's possible to discuss how trans people exist and what they are and how they work and all these different things, in the same way that every day in evolution we discuss how evolution works and when evolution works and in what ways evolution works and why evolution works. We never argue whether or not evolution works, right? We know evolution's a thing. We just talk about how. And it's the same thing with transgender people. You have to go out of your way to do some really big, biologically indefensible leaps of logic in order to get around the fact that transgender people are real and valid in their identities. And so if you can be a shitty biologist and say, oh yeah, all right, they're real, but here's all these dumbass statistics that don't make any fucking sense and aren't consistent and, you know, show massive data bias, and therefore I can say that they're all these horrible things. Shout out to Jerry Coyne. Or you can, you know, just be honest about the reality that you live in and say people have different ways of being humans, and that's the whole definition of cultural relativism. That's like the first lesson in anthropology. That's what it means to be a human, and my way isn't the only way, certainly not the best way. And while it works for me, it clearly doesn't work for exactly the same way for 8 billion people. And then if there is somebody that goes against the norm and breaks the rules that you have in your head as a scientist, that's interesting. So you should study it and figure it out, and not ostracize and alienate and pathologize people that are just living however the hell they want to live. That's the biggest thing for me.
Thank you, Paul, for the call. Be safe out there. We'll see you later. Thank you.
Take care, Paul.
Let's talk about phobes in
calling
another way. I know that Mamdani was just elected to be the mayor of New York. Big controversy for some because he's a practicing Muslim. Ooh-ah. And I have found this an interesting black light on the culture, because now we get to see who he used the word Islamophobe. I understand why he did it. I think Islamophobe is a bullshit term. There is anti-Muslim bigotry, which is a discrimination against human beings who happen to practice the Muslim faith. But Islamophobia, I find, is a shield that Islamists use to protect themselves and their doctrines from criticism. You know, if you go after the Quran, you say it's all bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Then they say, well, you are an Islamophobe. So I get he was getting in front of that. When I was listening to his acceptance speech, and some people think it's weird that I'm like, hey, good. You know, I was happy that he was victorious. Well, Seth, how could you do that? You're an atheist activist, and he's a practicing Muslim. And I'm like, no. That's important. And he and I could sit down and talk religion all day, all night. I'm more interested in his values, right? He and I share values. And when I was hearing him speak, he was like, you know, we're going to defeat we'll never defeat it, but we're going to work to defeat anti-Semitism. We're going to be advocates for trans people. We're going to be a pluralistic democracy. We're not going to have an autocracy. We're going to say, screw you to the oligarchs, etc. Well, those are humanistic values. And it's hard for a lot of people to sort of, you know, we want a binary thing. Well, if he's a Muslim, then he must be, I don't know, what a Christian is. They're superstitious, therefore they must be stupid, therefore we can't support them. And I think it has to be more of a conversation about values. What I've seen so far looks kind of promising, but I'm watching the nation now literally pull out every caricature on the planet. He's a jihadist. There were people on the Trump team who were posting videos from 9/11 going, New York was a victim of the jihadist, and now they've elected one. And of course, the answer to that was he was 10 when 9/11 went down. You know, he's a communist, which he is not, by the way. He's not a communist. And I love to watch these people define communism
and a socialist and a Marxist, don't you know?
And the people who socialism is one of those. I used to be that way. It was one of those hot button words, and you lose your mind, and you're like, "Oh my God, we're Soviet Russia," blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Well, okay, democratic socialism. Do you use any public services? Do you send your kids to public school? Have you ever gone to an emergency room or had to call the police or the fire department? Do you have Medicare? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, societies use, for lack of a better word, sort of a communal pool of resources to take care of their citizens all the time. And so this idea that, oh my God, hashtag socialist, he is an evil, I don't know what he's supposed to be. You have a take on any of this before we do the next call, Forrest? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I loved all the news stations that made sure to run the headline: Muslim socialist Zoran Mamdani is doing it. And, you know, I try as I might, couldn't find a single fucking news post about Christian capitalist Andrew Cuomo or fucking, you know, Christian rapist Donald Trump or any of these things out there that were framing it. But it's only the same party that bitches about identity politics. Sure as hell uses them whenever they want to ostracize and alienate and separate people and other people. So that way they can say, oh, look at us. We're in our little camp over here. And these evil terrorist Muslims are trying to blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I think you're absolutely right, number one, about I don't give a shit that he's Muslim. I would like to debate him on it, but I care more about the fact that he's a good person. I just before this show, I was talking to you about how I want to have Qasim Rashid back on here, who's a Muslim man that I've hosted this very show with because he's fucking awesome. He's an amazing person with a great moral compass. He's a human rights lawyer. We were going to talk about ICE on the show for a while. Amazing dude. He knows I disagree with his religion. Who gives a shit? We're on the same team. We're on humanity's side, right? We're both anti-genocide. We're both anti-ICE. We're both anti-Trump. We're both trying to make the world a better place. Why do I give a damn who he's praying to unless he's acting on those things? That's something that I've said a million times on this show, and you've seen the life lesson from the lab speech that I give quite a few times. Unfortunately, I'm sorry for you, but like I mentioned that in there, like there's a big problem in the skeptic community where it's just this vitriol, this violence of like, I have to hate every religious person because I hate religion. No, you fucking don't. Sorry, that's not the case. And like,
wait a minute. Is it that they hate, or is it that they are like, if they hold to superstition, then they must not have active reasoning centers and cannot be trusted? I mean, there's probably a lot of different reasons people reject.
I am using the word hate there colloquially. What I mean to say is I'm taking there's no reason to take serious personal issue with a religious person simply because they are religious. And you take an issue with their religion. And like that's a major problem in the atheist community with a lot of people who think that we have to be grumpy all the time and angry all the time with every fucking person who's ever had a religious experience or a religious thought or a religious belief or whatever. And it's like, no, I can argue about your religion when it's appropriate to do so. But guess what? When I visit the mosque, I'm taking off my shoes and I'm going to shut the fuck up. And when I'm visiting a cathedral, I'm going to stand in the back of the room quietly and I'm going to shut the fuck up. When I'm visiting the Christian church, the Hindu temple, whatever, I'm going to be polite and I'm going to make friends and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to celebrate whatever the cultural festival they're doing is. I go to cultural festivals all around the fucking Tulsa all the time, and most of them are deeply religious. And you know what I do? I shut the fuck up and I eat the food and I shake hands with people and I get to know people's names and I mispronounce things and I have an amazing time and I shut the fuck up because that's not what I'm there for. And these are human beings that live in my community and I want to be their friend. And our community is better because of our differences, not worse. And we can celebrate and grow together as friends and as people who care about each other because we all want the same fucking thing. And then when the fascists are out of power and when they're no longer at risk of being rounded up in a white van by a bunch of fucking rapist fascists because they're brown and they don't speak English very well, when these assholes aren't destroying our country anymore, then we can all sit down and talk about their religion. And I can tell them why I think it's silly. And then we're going to have a great meal afterwards. And it's going to be a beautiful fucking day. But like, if you think you can't be friends with somebody or support somebody or like work with somebody or have shared goals with somebody like Zoran Mamdani because they're a Muslim, you're fucking stupid. Go away and learn how to think. Like you've got to be able to make friends and work together.
So is this emanating from your man brain or your mosaic brain?
Yes.
I just heard some of those terms. I wrote mosaic,
if you like.
Mosaic brain because I think that's another great indie band name. Mosaic Brain live in concert Saturday night at Kane's Ballroom. I would go see that show. I just sat down on camera with April LaJoy. She is a Jesus-loving Christian, and she is a fierce opponent of Christian nationalism. She wrote the book called Star Spangled Jesus. We sat down in Nashville on camera. The freaking interview's on my channel. She is remarkable. She's a beautiful human being. She's a beautiful humanist. And if I wrote her off because she has a version of Jesus that I think skips over a whole hell of a lot in the Bible, you know what? I'll take a moderate progressive Christian. Knock yourself out, right?
Yep.
It works for you. We can have that conversation, but our values are the same. I just had the renowned biologist Ken Miller on my show to talk about the science of evolution. He's been in the game for 40 years. He's a Catholic, and he's a critic of the Catholic Church, but he's still a Catholic. We had that conversation. But imagine what we would be missing out on, all the great science and advocacy if we wrote him off. And I think that was my larger point that Forrest made even better than I do is, we tend to lead with labels. And I'm really more interested in the beating heart underneath. Who are you, beneath the label? I've got.
There's there's I'm sorry, last thing. I don't remember his name. There's a guy. He's a politician here in the States, and I think he's running for a higher office now. His name starts with a T, last name starts with a T, and he is a practicing. I wish I knew his name. I'll find it by the end of the show. But he's a practicing Christian, and he is super fucking leftist. And his whole thing is like using his Christianity like Martin Luther King, like going out to. He's doing these huge town halls, and he's saying like, the Jesus I believe in told me to love the poor, to heal the sick for free, to welcome the stranger, to bring in people and love them, whoever they are, as they are. Nowhere does the Jesus I believe in tell me to hate trans people, to hate immigrants, that food stamps should be earned. None of that is in the Bible. And he's like, I'm sick of my religion being hijacked by these far-right assholes who are using evangelical Christianity as a weapon to do everything Jesus said not to do. And so, I love that dude. He's so fucking cool. And that's, I don't know, man. I feel like we work so much. Yeah, there it is. James Tallarico.
Yeah, down in Texas. Yeah, I mean, he,
yes.
I know Will Judy at Secular Houston has met the guy and has nothing but great things to say about him. And, I'll take him. I will take him. I'll take the people, the pastors and ministers at Christians Against Christian Nationalism. I will take them. I'll take Amanda Tyler and Dr. Kristen Dumais and all those people on the front lines. I'll take them.
Damn right.
And, I'd rather stand shoulder to shoulder with them than some of the more toxic non-believers I've found. I think let's find out what we share in terms of values and let's go out and try to fix the world. I see a theist. So I'm just going to jump way down here and talk to William. Are you with us?
I am. How are you guys? How are you doing tonight? Can you hear me?
Still conscious and ready for a stimulating phone call.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
This episode of The Line. What are your thoughts?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. What's on your mind?
Okay. I first, I'm just gonna say I'm still pretty new in my faith, but I'm not nearly intelligent enough to effectively do apologetics. So if I get some stuff wrong, I get some stuff wrong.
Wait, hang on. Hold on, William. Hang on. Hold on. I normally want to give you plenty of rope here, but what you're saying is you're not familiar enough with your faith to properly discuss or defend it. And so you have called the show to defend it?
Yes. Sounds about right.
Props to guts. Props to having guts.
Okay. Proceed.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the Bible and why I believe in it, why I put my faith in it.
Okay. Can I ask you a couple of quick questions just to get started, just so I know what kind of Christian I'm talking to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you believe in the entire Bible word for word exactly as it is written, or do you think that it needs to be interpreted in kind of some parts are literal, some parts are poetic, some parts are allegories, and you kind of have to massage it a little bit to find out the true meaning?
I think you can go either way on that. I think, there's obviously
I'm
one
asking you,
correct
what do
answer,
you believe?
but I think that a lot of stories are meant to be interpreted as either metaphor or talking about a certain subject, not to be taken literally.
Okay, so like just for example, like the 6-day creation, the global flood, the resurrection of Jesus, Jonah and the whale, like are these things like these fantastical, miraculous things? Do you think that these are
Like
more
a
or
lot
less
of the
real?
stories in in Genesis, right? They could very well not have happened, right? Like
Okay.
you mentioned, the flood, creation in 6 days. A lot of that just really couldn't have happened.
Okay, great. And then the last question I have for you is the character of God in the Bible. So, like, whatever God may or may not be, the character that is presented in the Bible of God, do you believe that that is an accurate representation of, like, who and what God actually is?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, just from where I'm coming from, and this is not a straw man, this is just what my position is regarding your faith that you're presenting to me now. We agree that not everything in the Bible is true. I would argue that like the vast majority of it is not true. And I think that the God you worship is evil because the God of the Bible is definitely evil. So now we're on, like, we understand each other. We're meeting face to face here.
Okay.
So tell me about this God. Tell me about why you believe these things.
And for most of my life, I didn't, to be honest. I grew up in a family, like, we went to church every Sunday, but that was kind of it. We never really talked about it. When in high school, whenever I actually started looking into it for myself, whenever I started reading the Bible for myself, that's whenever I started to come to believe in more so in the Gospels around the stories around Jesus than anything else.
Okay.
That's lovely.
That doesn't tell me
You
why you
believe
believe any
them,
of this.
but why? What is your justification for belief?
Well, the way I see it, all of Christianity kind of hinges on whether or not the resurrection happened, and I haven't really found anything that can prove that it didn't.
Well, I can't prove. I can't disprove that Christ didn't exist and wasn't abducted by a giant purple cosmic space octopus either. I mean, disprove that. Therefore, if we cannot disprove it, it must be something we embrace as truth. Yes, that's how we determine facts.
Yeah, obviously you can't. There's a lot of stuff you can't prove 100%.
A lot of stuff
but
you can't prove, but you can disprove. You can't disprove the giant levitating cosmic tentacly space octopus that came down and stole Jesus off planet Earth and then went off into the outer membrane of the universe. Therefore, that is a credible possibility and probably a good foundation for belief, right? I mean, that's the criteria.
I guess.
Well, that's
Okay.
horrible. That's what you guess that's true. That's,
No.
That's the
I
whole
would,
point.
that's my kind of faith. That's my kind of religion right there. Anything with tentacles.
Yeah, that's
I would be in.
anything
William,
with
do you
tentacles.
see our point? Do you see the challenge that we have? It has not been disproven. By the way, the idea that we approach the Bible as monumental portions of the Bible have not been disproven is incorrect. Monumental portions of the Bible aren't just, well, we can't prove it one way or the other. We know they didn't happen. We know they did not happen, which means the Bible is obviously human-made, written in a very superstitious and primitive time by men.
Yeah, it was written by humans. Absolutely.
It was written by humans, and it is mythology, much of it borrowed, much of it offensive. So, what is your basis for embracing Christianity?
Well, and I also, to be honest, I think the fact that it's written by humans is one of its greatest strengths. The fact that it lines up so incredibly well, but it was written by so many different people over such a long period of time. I think that's probably one of its greatest strengths.
So the Vedas, then, the books of the Vedas, written by men as well over a long period of time. That's equally as impressive to you.
But the books of what?
The Vedas.
I don't believe
How
I've
about
heard
the
of that
Quran?
before.
How about the Quran? We'll go with the Quran. We'll make it simple.
I know. The Quran. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was written, some would say inspired, and in many ways has been a much shorter time, but it has stood a test of time. Therefore, it must have equal merit, right? It's what, right there side by side, 50-50 on the scale with the Bible, would you say?
That could be true. I'm not. I admit I'm not well versed enough on the Quran or on Islam to say much of anything on that.
Okay. Forrest, you can jump in anytime, my friend. I'm just sort of like, but my bigger challenge is the very thing I led with. You are not at a place of understanding's not the word. You have not amassed enough information about the faith that you are calling to defend to be able to have a meaningful conversation in defense of it. You don't know who wrote. No one knows who wrote any of the 66 books of the Bible. You have written off the entire Old Testament, 73% of the whole scriptures.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
You said you're more of a Gospels guy. You say Genesis, the creation account, Noah's flood, etc., did not happen, right?
That does not mean that I only believe in the Gospels. I specifically only mentioned that, I used Genesis as an example because there are quite a few stories in there that really just couldn't have happened. Specifically, the flood, creation of the universe.
How do you know they couldn't have happened? How do you know they couldn't have happened?
Okay.
Hello?
Well, I don't think that the Earth was formed after the Big Bang happened. I don't think the Earth was formed in only 6 days.
Right. How do you know the Big Bang happened?
How do we know anything happened?
That's a good question.
So
how do we know things?
He's so close for us.
How do we know things, William?
Well, we look at the evidence, and whatever the evidence points to, that's it.
Right. So now, what evidence do we have for this God existing?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I think that really Christianity as a whole stands on the resurrection. If you can find enough evidence to, I guess, disprove that, then it's completely disproven.
But that's the question: is do you believe something when you can't disprove it? Or do you believe something when you have evidence for it?
I believe something when I have evidence for it.
Okay, so that's different than what you said earlier when you were talking about when Seth was giving you a deliberately silly scenario. Can you disprove this, horrible sky demon octopus creature? And we all said, no, we can't disprove that. And you said, yeah, I guess then you could believe in it. But that shouldn't be the case, right? You should only believe in the sky octopus that stole Jesus when you have evidence for that existing, right?
Okay, then I admit you kind of lost me on the sky octopus part.
So Seth gave you this sky octopus idea. Yeah, Seth gave you this sky octopus thing as a joke, and you agreed that that's worth believing in because it can't be disproven. But as we just established, that's not how evidence works. You don't believe something because you don't have evidence of the contrary.
No, I would agree. No.
Okay, great. So now here's the thing: is when we talk about the Bible and all that stuff, right? You talked about, well, we can't disprove the resurrection. The Bible itself disproves the resurrection, right? Because there's 4 different versions of the resurrection that contradict each other. So even if we just look at the Bible, the best case scenario is we have to believe everything the Bible doesn't say, right? The only way to square the circle of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John having completely different resurrection stories.
The Bible
what I'm saying is
resurrection.
the Bible contradicts itself on the resurrection. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John tell completely different
Matthew,
stories.
Mark, Luke, and John were
So-
written by 4 different people. It's 4 different points of view on what happened.
Actually, no.
Right.
Mark
But that-
alone was written by 2, possibly 3 people, and the accounts given are not reporting from different vantages. They are actual contradicting reports, different characters, different events, different words said, different actions done. Jesus himself in the Gospels was born differently, he lived differently, and he died differently. These are different stories, not different angles on the
that's
same
not- that's-
story.
It's not at all how I saw that. I didn't
Well,
read
okay, so just really quick,
Matthew and then read Mark
William-
and say this is a completely different guy.
William, can you just repeat exactly word for word what Seth just said? Like word for word, perfectly.
I mean, I can try.
But I'm not asking you to try. I'm asking, do you think you could do it? Do you think that you could give me perfect word for word exactly what Seth just said just now and represent him,
Probably
his character,
not.
his message, everything? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
And here you've got Mark, which is written 66 AD, right? I don't know if these are perfect, but around 60 AD. Matthew and Luke written around 80 something AD. John written around 100 something AD. So you've got no eyewitnesses. You've got people that lived and wrote about this stuff long after, decades after Jesus lived. And you expect me to believe that all of them not only remembered exactly what he said and exactly who he was, but got the exact same story right and wrote it down perfectly and all? It's ridiculous. So, like, even if there was just one gospel, one point of view, it would still be unbelievable, especially when you look at now that, like I said, that these 4 stories they contradict each other. The only way to square the circle of saying that these 4 stories are all true is to say that anything that they don't technically say, anything that isn't not written down, can be assumed to be true. So whereas in one book it says there was 1 person at the grave, and in the other book it says there were 2 people at the grave, well, then we just have to assume that it was 2, and maybe in the first book they only saw the 1, right? We have to do these gymnastics to try to make the Bible make sense. And that doesn't fall in line with what we were agreeing on earlier, which is that you need positive evidence for a thing. 4 people writing down different versions of an event that was supernatural in the first place isn't good evidence for believing in something. It's just not.
Were the Gospels not written by said disciples, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Were they? I mean, well,
No.
if they were written in the time frame the time frame that you say, then they could very well still be alive.
Is
Right.
William
None of them
for real? Is
none
William
of the
for real?
Bibles, none of the Gospels are written by eyewitnesses. There are no eyewitness accounts of Jesus.
And Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were not written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are characters spoken about in the third person.
Okay.
So, William, I do appreciate your call. It has been somewhat stimulating, but if this is all you have, I'm going to move on to the next 4 on our switchboard before we do super chats. Was there any other good reason you have for believing the Bible?
No, I guess not.
All right. Thanks for the
what
call.
I would,
Much
what I would
appreciated.
encourage you to do, William, just like moving forward, I encourage you to use the same rules of like belief that you would use for literally anything else for the Bible. If I tell you that I had pizza last night, you probably don't need too much evidence, but if you wanted evidence, I could give you a receipt. I could show you the empty box. I could show you my credit card bill. I could do whatever, right? But if I tell you that there's a guy that made the whole universe and he sent himself in the form of a human here to be tortured in order to make the logical weird rules of the moral system that he invented, and he cares about who you have sex with and whether or not you eat shellfish and like all this stuff, you should give a lot more of a damn than just saying, well, I've got this fucking Bronze Age manual that tells me how to own slaves and have sex good, and that's enough for me. You know what I mean? Like that, you should have a higher standard of evidence for believing something that crazy than just, I read about it in a book that's internally inconsistent and contains a ton of horrible moral wrongs and logical contradictions and scientific inaccuracies. Like, you should demand higher evidence for yourself. You deserve better.
Thanks for the call, William. Much appreciated. I still want to go back to the very first statement that I made. To call a show like this and admit right off the bat, I don't have enough knowledge to have this conversation. Let's have the conversation. To me, it's not a waste of time, but it tells me that someone is not operating on facts. They must be operating on gut, on emotion, on bias, on a whole, or they just want to hear their voices on the air. Now, I'm going to give William the benefit of the doubt, but my mosaic brain is a tad suspicious. That's all I'm saying. I'm a tad suspicious. I've got
anything with tentacles.
Anything
Seth
with
Andrews,
tentacles.
2025.
Yeah, that's a great indie band name. Cinder is. Am I saying your name correctly? Out of Germany.
Yep, that is right.
Much appreciated. Thanks for being so patient on the switchboard. What's on your mind? You're on with Seth and Forrest.
Yeah, I got time. That's fine. Now, I just want to mention that I told William to call in. He's a friend.
Right on.
And I thought it would be interesting to see what his actual reasons were for believing.
Well, I mean, I hope I wasn't unfair, Cinder. I hope I wasn't unfair.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I told him you guys were nice, and you were. You let him down gently, is what I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
If this were
you
a
understand my
show,
frustration. If somebody comes in and they say, "I have come to build the house. I have no tools or blueprint, but I just want to do it," that's a challenge to me. So go ahead, Cinder. What else did you want to talk about?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just blathering on. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to mention I didn't know what his reasons were for believing specifically. I just thought it would be interesting to hear for everyone. I saw people in the chat calling him a troll and everything. He is not. I just told him to call in because I thought it would be funny. That's really it.
Well, I mean,
right on.
My goal was not to humiliate William, and I don't think
that's
we
not what
did
I think
that.
at all.
Okay, all right.
No.
Not
Like I said, you let him down very gently, and that's exactly what I expected. If he was like, I'm going to call it underperforming, but I don't mean that in a mean way.
Well, if William, if you're still listening to any of this, call into a show where we have more time, and I'll talk to you for a longer period of time. But like, it just I stand by what I said. I think you deserve a higher threshold of evidence for what you believe.
Yeah, like he literally told me on Discord the second the call was over, I'm going to do my research and come back. So I think this is going to be very funny.
As long, my hope would be it's not, I'm going to go scan for confirming information, or what I figure to be confirming information, which is often how research is done.
A lot of great deconstruction stories start that way. A lot of great deconstruction stories start that way. I was looking for good evidence for the Bible and I couldn't find any. Yeah, exactly. I was looking for good evidence for my beliefs and I couldn't find it. I was looking for good arguments against atheism, couldn't find them, found good arguments for it. Like it happens.
Yeah.
So what else you got for me, Cindy?
Yeah, I got two things. One that popped up because I was looking at my Bible that I didn't expect to happen, but pretty much I got that from my father when he wasn't at home, and my brother just gave it to me because I wanted a Bible and I didn't want to order one. And I wanted to write notes like Forrest does, right? And then I saw that he already had, and that makes me very happy because he grew up with I'm pretty sure Jehovah's Witness mother is what my grandmother is. And he apparently was already deconstructing as a child, teen, whatever, and that makes me happy. But yeah, what I actually called in about is I'm listening to a lot of these call-in shows, and I just hear the same things with different words pretty much. And I just wanted to have like a little thought experiment because I heard it, I think, from someone who called into Justin's show, Deconstruction Zone. Do you think we get new arguments at any point? Like, are we done? Is it just bong rip theology from here, or just different words for the same stuff?
To have a new argument, you would need new evidence. And we have the same evidence as we've always had. And like maybe if you had asked me this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I was like starting out on shows like this, and I was like all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excitable, I probably said something like, maybe someday down the line, I'm excited to hear what they have to say, because I'm always open to questioning my beliefs and challenging my blooba-doobs. And I hope that they did. But like the past legit like three or four shows, I swear to God, people have called in with like Thomas Aquinas level shit. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Are you in the tub and it's draining? What sound am I hearing? I'm fascinated by it. I don't know
It
what that
sounds like
sound
you're
is.
inside of a wind chime.
Is that it?
Oh my god, I think that's my computer fans actually.
Oh no, well that's cool.
Gotcha.
My mind's going to all kinds of places. Like what musical instrument are we
okay.
hearing? My take on this, Cinder, is this, and it's how I frame it and phrase it. If somebody calls in and they're like, "Where do your morals come from?" or "Hitler was an atheist," or "The evolution of the eye," or "How did something come from nothing?" or any of the greatest hits of apologetics that we have all heard, right? There's nothing new under the sun. But for the person dialing in, it might be the first time that they have navigated these questions. And we have to approach that as if it is the first time that we're having that conversation in the context of this particular person on their journey. And so that helps me to really reset. It's the ones for me that are so untethered, the monad type stuff. At least monad's entertaining for us, right? At least monad was somewhat entertaining. Some of them, I find myself trying to connect the dots, trying to figure out which series of vowels and consonants would make it make sense in some way. Those are the ones that cause my eyes to twitch. That's when my mosaic brain starts to turn to silly putty, and it does get frustrating. But overall, I was that guy years ago. Well, how do you know rape and murder are wrong if you don't have the 10 commandments? Just dumb shit like that. Well, if somebody had blown me off instead of having a conversation, if someone had made fun of me for not accepting evolution or not understanding it, if someone had ripped me a new one because I believed a certain part of the Bible and called me stupid, it might have altered my journey. And I try to remember that moving forward. I had somebody in the chat say that they thought I was a bit too hard on William. Dismissive was the word. And if that was the case, I'll own that. But I stand by not wanting to waste anybody's time when somebody fronts a conversation by saying, "I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's talk." That for me is a bit of a challenge in my defense. Anything else, Cinder, before we move on?
No, absolutely not. I just thought it would be interesting to hear what some people who have more experience with this think. I also think that we just need more evidence, and I don't think we're going to get more evidence for the things that we already have unless we have like a major archaeological, like Dead Sea Scrolls level discovery here at any point. And I mean, there is no real evidence for atheism, I would say, just for science, which is not the same thing. So that doesn't matter.
Also, atheism isn't a claim, so it doesn't really need evidence in that way.
Exactly, yeah.
Just, I don't believe this other claim.
If anything, counterclaim, right?
Yeah. But we'll be talking about that probably next, because we have somebody on the line who are on the call-in screen here that has something to say about exactly that. So we'll see.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Cinder.
I'm going to listen. I can't wait to get out of the call-in studio thing with muffled audio. So
no, you sound great. I mean, the listeners and viewers can hear you perfectly. So thanks so much for taking the time to dial in. We'll see you later.
Take care, Cinder. Bye-bye.
Before we do the next series of calls, full contact hosting here requires some wired fingerless gloves here.
The hot buy from fucking Sky Mall in the turn of the century.
Oh yeah, things are getting serious. We're this next level work that's coming up here. Which call were we talking about, Forrest? I want to make sure I want to go to the
line
one
13.
13. Ivan?
Yeah.
Out of Argentina, you've been most patient, Ivan. Are you there?
I am here. Yes.
Welcome. You're on with Forrest, Valkai, and Seth Andrews. What's on your mind?
So that's Forrest, and so I write it down.
Seth.
What's your name?
I'm Seth.
Seth. Okay. Amazing. Okay.
He's been talking.
Sorry, did you ask me to introduce myself? Can you hear me clearly?
Ivan, I can.
Yes,
What's on your mind?
Well, right now it's your voice and some classical music on the background.
Ivan,
There
what
you
do you
go.
want to talk about
Yeah.
today on the show?
I want to talk about the topic that I wrote down. Atheism to me is like a flawed belief system.
What is the belief system
hang on,
of atheism?
hold on. I need a definition from
Yeah.
you. Atheism is a
definition.
belief system. Define the belief system that is atheism.
All right. Firstly, the word is a negation of being theist, right? That's basically the definition, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Theism
Okay.
was a given, and people just kind of assumed that was
Yes.
the case, and so we needed a negation of it. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. But now I think that atheism. I don't like the term. I'm not a fan of this term because even though you can be objective about it, I think that most people associate many different things with it. So I don't really like to use it. And I think that yes, it could be that in the most like objective interpretation could not be a belief system. But I think that most people take it to be so. So therefore,
Most people take the word Ivan. Most people assume the word theory means guess, and I get calls all the time arguing that evolution isn't real because it's just a theory. People don't know what the word theory means. Doesn't mean we should change our vernacular. It means we need to educate people on what words mean.
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand your point. Yet I think that I've spoken with atheists that are, in my opinion, quite academic, and I've many times, pinned them down on some hidden beliefs in their speech, in their rhetoric. For example, when it comes to things
not
like
any of
that,
those.
Yeah. All right.
So here's atheism is simply a lack of belief in a god. I have met atheists that believe in an afterlife. There are atheists that are flat earthers. There are atheists that are conservatives and liberals and right wing and left wing. And also, atheism is just simply one position on one thing. Do you believe there's a god? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then you're an atheist. If you think that there is no such thing as a god, you are also a type of atheist, but like that also is a belief system, I would argue.
Yeah.
But if you just say, I don't believe there is such a thing at all, and I'm waiting for evidence, that's atheism.
Yeah.
And it does not a belief system, not a belief system, not a religion, none of that.
But now the atheism is an assertion on God not existing, basically.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's just not accepting the claim. It's not accepting the claim that there is such a thing as a God. There are some atheists who go so far as to assert that a God does not exist, but that is not the definition of atheism.
But you're holding a position of God doesn't exist until it is proven that it exists, basically.
No.
We're saying
I don't believe. Yes,
until it is
I don't
proven.
believe a God exists until you give me a good reason to believe. The same way as everything else. The same thing I said on the call with William. The same standard of logic and reason and evidence as anything else is what I apply to God. I have no good reason to believe such a thing exists, so I don't think that it does. Not saying for sure it doesn't. I've checked under every rock in the universe, but
yeah, right. Now, the example you gave with the pizza, you were sort of implying that you could give evidence as to why you ate pizza yesterday, right? That was
you can get
your example.
You can get evidence as to whether or not I had a pizza yesterday. Yes, not why I did it, but whether or not it happened.
Now, all the evidence could be fabricated, and you didn't eat a pizza yesterday. Maybe it was the day before. You have the receipt. You had the box. Right. Okay.
Yep.
So the evidence doesn't necessarily mean that something is true, right?
No, it's about analyzing.
Yeah.
It's about analyzing that evidence and having several different lines of evidence that point in the same direction, building a whole story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's also about the size of the claim. So like a simple, boring claim like having pizza needs a lot less evidence than an extraordinary claim like a God exists, especially the Christian God.
Well, I don't know about that, because it might be a simple claim, but yet the reality is you could present like volumes of evidence and it's still a lie, right?
Or we could
Even
examine the
in the age of
contents
AI,
of his stomach and find out if there is digesting pizza, which would be evidence that Forrest Valkai
that's
pizza.
but that's good evidence. That's
laboratory
solid
conditions would demonstrate
that's
the pizza, Ivan.
You keep saying like there could be bad evidence. Yeah, there could be bad evidence.
All right.
All we ever hear on this show is bad evidence. We're talking about like good evidence. That's the whole thing. I would expect the same kind of good evidence for a god than I do for anything else.
Yeah.
Ivan, I'm a momentum guy. I'm going to give you a couple minutes here to get to a good point. What do you have for us? Like, what are you trying to say?
I want to pivot. I want to pivot the question into first defining God. Because you asked me to define atheism, yet I want to define what God is, because I think that that is an important element.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Is it a God that you believe in?
To define atheism. You asked me to define atheism. I ask you to define God, the thing you're negating. What is that?
Okay, so just really quickly, do you believe in a God?
I think it's a word that has no meaning to me nowadays. It could mean so many things. An intelligence behind the universe.
Do you believe?
What is it?
Do you believe?
Yeah.
Do you believe in a supernatural entity that played a role in creating our universe on purpose?
But is that the definition? Because God could be, a pantheistic intelligence that is imbued in everything.
Clear. Right. Yeah. Just to be clear, when we do these shows, we take calls from all sorts of theists who believe in all sorts of gods. I have been presented about 10,000 different gods. Excuse me. I've been presented about 10,000 different gods that I don't believe in. So, like, if you ask me what I don't believe in, I could sit here for the rest of my life giving you all the different conditions of different things that I don't believe in. I'm going to give you a summary, and it's not going to be good enough.
Yeah.
But, like, for the same reason, if you ask me what kind of fairies do I not believe in, and I give you every description of a fairy that's ever been written down, and you're like, but what about this strange Germanic literature fairy from this other place? What about that one? And we can sit here for my whole fucking life talking about fairies.
That's so, a good one. You made me laugh on that. Yeah,
I like that. I don't believe in any. I don't believe in any designing intelligences, any agencies that exist without a body, any ideal creatures living outside of our universe, anything that made our universe on purpose, anything that monitors my deeds and my life and lays out a moral system for me that I will be judged on after the point of death. I don't believe in any.
I don't believe in that either.
I don't believe in any of the things that anybody in the global north will probably think of when I say the word God.
Okay. Well, I can tell you my belief. Maybe that will clear things out. I believe that, number one, I exist. I am here. I am aware of my existence. Then I think that the universe is a collection of all of these different objects, but in reality, they are not separate because they're like all the time merging. And I think reality is eternal, never begun. Neither will it end. It is just eternally existing. And I believe that I am that thing, that existence, eternally real. I have always existed. This is what I think and I feel
Alan Watts.
At times within
you
myself.
believe like Alan Watts.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not Alan Watts. Because if you think about it outside of the, it's not Alan. I actually don't like Alan Watts. So no, actually, there are many different schools of thought, philosophies, ancient philosophy that speak the same truth. I believe that if you remove the consciousness, you can clearly see that our body is made out of the stuff that we eat from the earth, water, air, and this thing that we are physically is always scattered or whatever around here, and it even scatters around while we live. We're constantly losing skin. We're constantly removing things from our body, losing stuff into the universe, and then gaining things from the outside, right? We're this weird process connected to everything around us, the air, the pressure, the
You're
whole
not,
planet.
you're not
Ivan,
describing anything.
thank you so
you're
much
not
for the
describing anything
call. I
supernatural.
appreciate your verve and the desire to tell us what you believe, but we're not here to listen to what you believe. We'd like to hear proof for what you believe. And all of this God talk seems bizarre, considering you admitted you don't believe in a God, which leads me to think you simply want to hear your voice on the air.
It wasn't even a god. It was like he was just describing basics of reality, and it's like, yeah, we shed skin cells and we breathe in oxygen, and like, yes, we're always losing and gaining things. I talked about that at BajaCon this year. Like,
I mean,
that,
he did
yes,
say
none of that is
that he didn't believe
supernatural.
in
None
a
of that
God.
is magical.
He also said something like, atheists say there is no God, which sounded a bit like a challenge. Maybe I took a little bit of a lead, but I'm like, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Atheists are not making, I'm not making a declarative statement. That's certainly not the definition. I could not escape the fact that Ivan was getting off on hearing his voice on the air, and life's too short. So I'm going to talk to Chris, who is dialing in out of the UK. Welcome, Chris. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for cutting him off. He was boring as hell.
I can barely
What
hear
was
you.
that?
Are we on a speaker? Can you get a little closer to the mic on your phone or computer?
I'm sorry. It's really terrible. Hang on. How is this?
Exactly
better.
the same.
Shall I call another time?
Well, let's
It's
give it a
okay,
shot.
We can try.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if you remember, Seth. I called earlier with you and Matt about sort of dealing with apologists of that. And you said that I should be a sponge for information, knowledge about the world. And I felt that was really helpful. I just feel that I think my question before was really not how to debate apologists, but how to make up my own mind to have this confidence. Like, what knowledge should I look for? What is the process? What do I focus on?
Well, I can't tell you what knowledge you should pursue. I'm not an expert in, I don't know which direct sources I would point you toward it without knowing exactly what it is that was interesting to you, what questions you wanted answered, what expertise you would like to lean into. I also think that journey is not one about becoming confident as much as it is about humility. The more we know, the more we realize we don't know. And science is a moving target. It is a process. It is a way of understanding the world. And it's always sort of adjusting. Believers say that's a bug. I think it's a feature. But can you tell us what type of knowledge you are seeking that you would like to sort of buttress your, to shore up your knowledge base on, for lack of a better way of saying it? What do you want to learn?
Well, I suppose my speciality is sociology, maybe history. I don't really have a mind for science like Forrest does. I wish I did.
Nobody's got a mind, a mosaic brain like Forrest Valkai. The bar is so impossibly high. The rest of us mere mortals could never compete. Don't beat yourself up, Chris. We're just flesh and blood human beings.
No one
We're
can be this
insects
stupid.
among gods.
No one else could be as stupid as me.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Are there science-based resources that you like for lay people like us, Forrest, that, if somebody wanted to go and they're like, I want to know more tomorrow about the basics of the building blocks of the world I live in, know more tomorrow than I knew yesterday, where would you send somebody as a starting point? Forrest Valkai, who's not listening because he's typing again onto his keyboard.
I'm not listening, and I was typing again into my keyboard. What did you ask me? I thought you were answering the question, and I was like, oh, this will give me a good opportunity to type over here.
Don't make me come over there.
Burn my face.
He's talking about
eyeball
shoring up his
gloves.
knowledge base. He wants to be a sponge and learn new things. Probably when it comes to basic biology, world religions, the history of religion, the nature of religion, brain psychology when it comes to belief. Those types of things in a place where we as lay people could not be overwhelmed. Is there a resource you recommend?
I was actually pulling up this quote, and I finished doing so. I thought you were talking for a minute and I would have time, but now you have talked for a minute, and now I had the time and I pulled it up.
Okay.
Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists that ever lived, study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible, is what he said. And I find that to be really compelling, and I have my whole life. In fact, that was what I wrote down in like my first little science notebook thing when I was starting to take notes and take science seriously. I wrote that on the cover. And so, like, I think what's really important, Chris, is start with the cool shit. If you have a big question or you learn something interesting, start with the really neat, big, crazy, here's a fish that has clear blood, right? That's a true thing. There's an ice fish around Antarctica that has clear blood. And that's fucking neat. And so if you were to start with like zoology and then cell biology and then working your way into like hematology and working your way through molecular biology and working your way into ichthyology and then eventually arriving at here's a fish with clear blood, it would be just a neat little factoid. It would be the most mundane thing in the world to you because you already have all this fucking background, and then this is just a footnote in there of like, and also this can happen. But if you start with that, why do they have clear blood? Oh shit, they don't have fucking red blood cells like we do. They don't use the same kind of blood system that we do. Why? Well, it's because they live in this ridiculously cold water, and if they had the kind of blood that we do, it would freeze. It would glob up. It would be too thick to move around their body. Their little hearts couldn't take it. And like, okay, well, what the hell is going on with that? How are they able to keep their blood from freezing? Well, not only that, they also make their own antifreeze. They make a protein that works like antifreeze that keeps their crystal clear white blood from freezing. That's fucking nutty. And now you're talking about really cool stuff about evolution. You're talking about really cool stuff about oxygen. You're talking about, if we're talking about blood anyway, we might as well talk about the fact that our blood is red because we use hemoglobin, but there's also hemocyanin, which is what things like a lot of lobsters and crustaceans and whatnot use, where their blood is blue because they use fucking copper instead of iron. Well, why the fuck is there copper and iron in the first place? Well, it's because they're using these metals to bind oxygen and move around their body, which means the whole reason that blood works is because it's literally rusting. That's what metal and oxygen is. That's rust. So you use rust to make your body work. Why the fuck is that happening? Like, why do I need oxygen in the first place? Well, let's talk about the cell cycle. If you started this conversation with the Krebs cycle, you would have fucking killed yourself. But now you're excited about it, right? And so, like, you go on through all this stuff to where you started with this weird, interesting factoid. And now, in order to better understand that, you are getting into the most dense and infuriating parts of biology. The fucking, like, cellular respiration is something that people dread talking about. But if you're excited about it, now it's worth talking about, because now you're excited that you want to learn this. You can learn this fucking fish. And also now you know more about how electrons work. And also you know more about biochemistry in general. And now you can apply this knowledge to so many other things. And it's going to elucidate so many other issues. And when you find some bullshit pseudoscience out there, you now have the tools to investigate that meaningfully and not be fooled by, because some asshole on a podcast said some dumb shit to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan'd all over the place, and a bunch of fucking nerds agreed with him. And so, like, just that's a cool thing that you now have a skill for. So that's what I would do, is I would start with the crazy weird shit and dive first into it and learn. Just be like a fucking a toddler, dude. Just why? That's what makes a good scientist. A scientist is a child that survived. Somebody who never grew the fuck up. The toddler that kept asking why and never let up. That's what a scientist is as an adult. And if you can start doing that today with all these different things and study what interests you most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible, you're going to be a much happier and much longer lived scientist than somebody who knuckled down and worked hard to make sure they got perfect straight A's in every single class, and never asked any interesting questions because they were too busy memorizing what was in the textbook. And that's I think going to be a lot more fun, and it's going to get you a lot farther. And you don't have to have a quote quote science brain for that. It just means you have to be passionately curious and irreverent to a fault. And if you can do that, then you're going to be a great scientist. Never stop asking
Thoughts on that,
questions.
Chris? What do you think, brother?
I love that. I really do. Well, you started with the fish, and that, to me, that's extraordinary. I love it so much.
I appreciate the call. Did I miss anything? It's so hard to hear. I want to make sure that I'm not cutting you off. Or were we good?
I think we're good, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you, both of you.
All right. It's funny. Every once in a while, there will be a young person who comes by and they want something signed. And what I'll do is sign above my name, I'll sign the words, "Make every day a discovery." And I think that's something that I really want to apply to me. Let's go out and figure something out. Let's find something out I didn't know yesterday, and then I know today. And it's maybe the reason I do that is because I was raised in this is true. And if you go out and you ask questions and test it, that's fine as long as you come back with the true answer that you started with, which is not how science is done. And I fantasize, wouldn't it have been nice to be in an environment where mom and dad and all of my associates and friends and guardians and pastors, teachers would have said, you know what, go out and ask questions and learn new stuff. Yeah. As Forrest would say, learn new shit. And then if you discover something that we didn't know, you come back and tell us, and then we can explore, and then we'll come back and if we find something else out, we'll talk to you and we'll all evolve our thinking together. It's a liberating, amazing way to discover how the world around us works. And, when people are on that journey, I find myself just smiling because it really is a pretty remarkable place to be in your head, in your bilateral gynandomorphy, or whatever it is you were saying earlier.
Gynandomorphy and humans don't do that.
Yeah,
Jane Goodall.
Damn it, I can't ever say it right. Sorry.
Jane Goodall talked about that in this really great speech she was given. She's talking about like when she was a little girl, she wanted to know where eggs came from. And she knew they came from hens, but she didn't know how. And so she went out and she hid in the chicken coop underneath a bunch of straw to wait and wait and wait and wait for a chicken to come in and lay an egg in front of her. And she knew she couldn't get up because it would scare the chickens and then they wouldn't do it. So she all fucking day she's there and she finally sees a hen lay an egg and she runs out to go tell her family. And of course, her mom and all they have the people working on their house and all these things. Everyone's out looking for her. The little girl's been gone all fucking day. They're terrified. They're freaking out. And she said, my mother could have squashed it right then. I would have never been a scientist. She could have killed it right then if she had been mad at me and flipped out and scolded me for running away and scaring everyone. But instead, she sat there and listened to me tell her the wonderful story about how hens lay eggs. And then we talked about all that stuff later. And she talks about how one day her mom was tucking her into bed and noticed she had a handful of worms in the bed because she found these worms and she wanted to take them to bed and learn about them. And she had to explain she could have killed it right then. She could have killed a scientist and said, how dare you messy the sheets I've cleaned these and you're ruining the house I clean. And how dare you make such a mess? And this isn't what girls do. And this is gross and all this. But instead, she sat and talked to her about how these worms need the dirt, and this is how they live, and they're going to die here in the bed. This bed is for little girls, and this bed of soil over here is for little worms, and you need this. And that is what made her continue to love science, and that's what's so important. We as grown-ups, whether you're a parent or not, it's important to remember you are always teaching. If you are in public, if another human being can see you, especially a young one, you are teaching, and especially when you have a platform like this, Seth and I here, I get it wrong all the time. I fuck up all the time. I don't do calls the best. I don't put my best foot forward, but I try all the time because I know that we get 30,000 views on average on every one of these shows. I am teaching. Somebody young is watching this and learning how to be or how not to be. And if you squash that creativity at any time, if you teach somebody that it's wrong to ask questions at any time, if you teach somebody to be embarrassed for being ignorant at any time, you've fucked up. You've killed a scientist. And there's a big difference between what we did like with William. I think the call went too short, but Seth is a very mean man. But I think it was reasonable to say, hey, you have not done your due diligence to have this conversation. You need to go try harder and then come back here and think. And that's very different than if we had just said, fuck you, you're stupid, fuck off. That would have been a very different conversation with a very different outcome. So yeah, I agree entirely. Like the reason why my motto always is never stop learning, because if you stop, you die. And also, that's what kids need to learn: is everything is learning. Every bit of life is education. Everything around you is always an educational experience.
A thought about ownership in the educational journey, but first, the chicken came first, right? Not the egg. Is it the chicken? Which came first?
The chicken or the chicken egg?
The chicken.
Are you asking about an egg or a chicken egg?
Yeah, the chicken egg. Which came first, the chicken or the chicken egg? It was the chicken.
The chicken came before the chicken egg. The egg came before the chicken. So if we're just talking about eggs in general, eggs are hundreds of millions of years before chickens.
Jesus Christ, how pedantic. Yes, the chicken egg. The chicken egg.
Yeah, so yeah, the chicken came before the chicken egg. Yeah.
Fucking PhD students, they just turn that screw.
That's just science. That's just science. You have to be clear.
Don't make me put my gloves on.
Because if you say it's the chicken came first before the egg, then you're a creationist. But if it's the chicken came before the chicken egg and the egg came before the chicken, then obviously that's how evolution works.
All right. So the chicken came before the chicken egg. That was really where I was going. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. And now
right.
You learned the thing. How it was science.
I did. See, you're a teacher and you teach us and we learn things. Here's a great story that I wanted to throw out. And I've got Brandon on the line and then we're going to do super chats. If you want to get your super chat in, $10 minimum to get them read on the air, now is the time. So I was talking to Dale McGowan. He is a humanist and an author, and he's written some amazing books about secular parenting. And he told this story about his own kid when it came to Santa Claus. And it was that typical thing. Well, is there a Santa? Is there a Santa? And, some parents would be like, oh, absolutely. And they would play into the fantasy and the play of it and, the imagination of children. And there would be others who would be like, oh, come on. Are you shitting me? We got to nick this. We got to nip it in the bud. We can't teach them fantasy. And then there are other people who don't know what to do with it. And so what Dale did was his kid came and they're like, where did the presents under the tree come from? Is it Santa? And Dale was like, well, some people say this. And then the kid was like, well, what did the reindeer eat? And he's like, well, there are people out there who think this. Some people say they fly because they eat magic corn. But what do you think about it? And he would just sort of plant the seeds of, why don't you go out and start digging? Really ignite the fires of curiosity. And this kid became a sponge and started looking around and becoming fascinated by, where did the presents come from? And is there a Santa and a sleigh? And how does all of this happen every Christmas? And he said one day they were walking into a grocery store and his kid was beaming. He was beaming. And he said, hey, Dad, I've been thinking about the whole Christmas thing and the presents. Yeah. He said, I think it's the mom and dads. Now, what happened is that he was taught how to think, not told what to think. And because he arrived at a conclusion, he had ownership of it. He was excited because he had learned it. And because it had been something that he had done organically, it meant more to him. And I just love that idea that we encourage people to go out and make every day a discovery. Because, man, when I just started to discover new stuff, it was like, I don't know, it was like eating at a banquet. You just feel so good. You feel so fulfilled. And I know Forrest lives in that world, but for us down here, who came late to the party, it's pretty remarkable. So anyway, that's my little anecdote.
It's super cool.
Forrest. Yeah.
It's super cool.
Brandon is dialing in out of California. Brandon, thanks for your patience. You're on with Forrest and Seth. What's up?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. What's happening?
Yes.
Okay. I'm actually a big fan of the show, but I'm an atheist, but something's been twisting me in knots for a little bit, and I can't reason my way out of it. I would like to get your guys' perspective on AI, future evolution of AI. Okay, all right. So first of all, I'm going to start from the point of over a very long period of time, evolutionary process take place, yada, yada. Advance is not the right word, but things progress, I guess. AI can do that at such an incredibly accelerated rate. And it seems at some point, because there's so many humans working on it, right? It seems at some point a true AI will inevitably be developed. Now, obviously the world could end, yada yada, all kinds of things that could put a stop to this process. But assuming that doesn't happen, given enough time, this AI is going to come to be. This AI is going to accelerate its evolutionary process. It's then going to evolve, for lack of a better word, in ways that we can't really predict. It would theoretically be able to take all of these different aspects of data points that already exist in human technology. Like, you know, there are scientific papers all the time that combine different areas of research and they put them together and they realize, oh, this new thing does this new thing does this. This AI could do that at such an accelerated rate with data points that already exist, not to mention giving it tools to then, I'm sorry, I know this may be coming off a little unhinged. If you have any point want to stop me, please let me know.
Well, if I may, Brandon, are you saying that will AI become conscious? Will it surpass us? I'm trying to find the question.
I don't think it's a question of if. I think it will, and when it will, this thing potentially has the ability to bend the laws of nature that we understand. And given enough time, right? That awesome George Wald quote. What is it? I know Forrest mentioned it in one of his videos. It was like, given enough time, the impossible becomes possible. The possible probable, and the probable eventually certain, or something like that. But
something like that. There's also the James Jeans quote about the same thing. Yeah.
Right. So what's been twisting me in knots about this is this is assuming, right, given our current data, which is we only know about humans, right? This is assuming there's no other alien races developing AI or something like that. This thing this is a mechanism for a godlike being to exist in some point in the future. I don't know.
So this is...
Yes.
This is
this is
entire...
within our universe. This is my thought. Yes. So,
right.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is the entire premise of... Have you ever read The Last Question by Isaac Asimov?
No.
So I'm gonna spoil it for you here. This is the whole... You should read it. It's fine. Great. It's very predictable, but I'm going to spoil the ending for anybody who doesn't want to read it. Turn off now. Or does want to go read it for themselves. To click away. But The Last Question is a story about AI, and it starts with these two people that are here on Earth, and they have this the global AI that is like united all of Earth, and everyone just relies on this AI for everything, and it like runs the world and the government and everything. So they have this one the global AI, and they have these two engineers that are the people who know how to run it, and they're sitting there drinking and chatting, and they're celebrating something or other, and one of them is kind of grumpy, and he's like, we've done all these great things, but at the end of the day, entropy is a constant in the universe and it's always increasing, and eventually the heat death of the universe is going to come, the last stars will go out, and eventually everything's going to decay. So I don't know why, there's really nothing to celebrate. And his friend says, well, maybe there's something to that. Let's ask the super AI. And they ask super AI, can entropy ever be reversed? And the super AI says, there's not enough data yet for me to answer that question. And then the next chapter skips ahead a few millennia, a few thousand years in the future, and humans are living in space stations all throughout, the solar system. And this dad is there with his children are playing, and the mom's cooking dinner by plugging things into a computer that's pooping out protein bricks and whatever else. And then the kids are real upset because they say, we learned on our school holograms that entropy is ever increasing, and eventually the heat death's going to come, and everything in the universe stops, and all the stars go out, and all this. And the dad says, "Well, let's ask the solar system AI, because this AI has now grown to the point where it's connected all the different space station civilizations all around the solar system." And he said, "Let's ask the solar system AI." And can entropy ever be reversed? And the solar system AI says, "There's not enough data to answer that yet." And they skip a few more 100,000 years in the future, and we're a galactic civilization. We're all over the galaxy, and we're colonized all these planets all over the place. And somebody asked the same question. Hey, galactic AI that unites the galaxy, what can entropy be reversed? And the galactic AI says, there's not enough data yet. And then skip forward a little while later, and we're multi-galactic, huge swaths of the universe, and humans have evolved beyond their physical form, and we're just living in jars, and we're connected all through the matrix that connects this whole chunk of the universe. And the same situation comes up, and the AI says, there's not enough data to answer this question yet. And then finally, in the last chapter, the entire universe is united by this AI, and humans are just energy creatures that just are all connected by this AI and humans are assimilating to the AI. They've given up their personality. They are just one with the computer machine, and the entire universe is united as this one giant supercomputer AI. And the very last human that's about to join in, the last free consciousness is about to join this AI. And it says, you know what? Before I go, I just have one question. Can entropy ever be reversed? Like we're coming up on the heat death of the universe here. Like I'm about to be the last difference in the universe, and there's about to be total homogeneity of the entire universe. Is about to be one thing. We're about to make the heat death happen. Before I go, was this inevitable? Could we have ever reversed entropy? And it says, sorry, there's just not enough data for me to answer that yet. And the guy goes, okay, and becomes the last part of the AI. And now the entire universe is this AI. It is everything that is. And the heat death comes, and the universe comes to a halt, and this AI is the end of existence. And in its last thoughts, it says, so this is all the data that's possible. I understand now. Let there be light. And that's the last line in the thing. And so what you're describing here is just that story. Is like, could AI get to such a big point that eventually it takes over the whole universe and becomes what we know as God? And what I would tell you is that's a really fucking cool story. And that's that's it. That's the whole point.
Okay. No, it's just
I go back and forth.
It struck me. This sounds tense.
Please continue, Brandon. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're fine. No, please.
Okay. I know you guys are professional debaters, and you guys do this, and I've really not had a question about really possibly tangibly believing in God. It just doesn't seem probable or realistic or any real way, but that's just because I don't generally see a mechanism in the universe for gods to exist, right? It just of the evidence that we've obtained, it just doesn't seem reasonable, but that is a possibility in that vein, right? So
was it Asimov? I'm trying to think who said any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Is that the kind of thing we're talking about here, where AI is so far beyond, may evolve or grow or become so complex beyond our understanding that it becomes a de facto deity?
That was Arthur C. Clarke.
Exactly.
Thank you.
By the way, I just put that story. It's a short story. It's only a few pages long, and I just put a link to a free PDF in the chat if you'd like to read it. It's called The Last Question.
I'm bookmarking it.
It's not really worth talking about too much. It was just this, because I just can't reasonably see a mechanism in any other way for gods to exist except like a star falls into itself, makes a super powerful brain, and somehow that brain is a godlike being, right? And that is just
that's
because the
that's a
universe
very
is
cool
finite,
story.
that's unreasonable. I know, but because it's unreasonable, but AI is a very possible thing. Anyway, thank you.
What I would say to you is just like, you're getting hung up on unfalsifiable things. It's the same reason why people fall into believing things like that we're all in a simulation or something like that. Like these are things that, yes, it's totally theoretically, hypothetically, technically maybe possible, and we have no way of knowing that it's not. And even if I were to give you proof positive that that's not true, you could just say that that is part of the simulation as well. You know what I mean? And so these are really cool stories, but they're unfalsifiable claims. There's no way to prove this wrong at this moment, at least. So there's no reason to dig into it at this moment.
To not dwell on
it's
it, right.
much better use of your time to stick to things you can prove.
Right.
Thank you, Brandon.
I know this just seemed more tangible than other unfalsifiable things to me, and I wanted to ask you guys, and I appreciate it. Thank you for kind of steering me around. It was spinning me in a circle a little bit.
Oh, not at all. Thank you for calling.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Okay, so here's my thing, and I am excited about the possibilities of the technology. I have a couple of gripes about it. First of all, I always thought technology would exist to get rid of a lot of the menial things so that human beings could create and build and grow and evolve and make the world better. And instead, I'm seeing technology that is stealing from the creators and, making them irrelevant. When you can say, oh, generate me an image or do this or write a paper or something else, then a lot of the creative work that I consider to be really uniquely and amazingly human is being stolen from humans on the cheap. That bugs me. Secondly, we're moving so unbelievably fast. Very few are stopping to consider what are the implications of what we are making. And then what happens if this machine begins to spin so wildly and so fast and becomes out of control? Will we have then devised a mechanism that could do great harm to us? I don't think that's an unreasonable fear. Do you talk about things like that, Forrest?
Yeah, I mean, like I remember hearing back, years and years and years ago about like this hypothetical. I don't know who came up with it. It was just this person I was talking to, or if it's a thing about like somebody builds a machine, an AI that's it just writes greeting cards or thank you notes or something like that. And it has to keep going over and over and over, just writing these greeting cards. And it eventually comes to the realization that it's never going to be able to stop doing this as long as there are humans. And so it eventually destroys the whole world so it can finally be done with its task to send greeting cards. And so that's that kind of thing does, make me think. And I, especially when we talk about AI today, I think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about like, this was promised as something that will do the menial work. It'll do the bullshit jobs so that humans can be creative and be free to make new cool stuff. And instead, what we're seeing is the exact opposite. AI is being used to be creative poorly so that humans can be relied on to do the menial bullshit jobs. We are using AI to make art, to make commercials, to make music, to make all, and we're using humans to flip patties and to program the fucking AI. And so that bothers
and make
me
the oligarchs even richer, right? I mean, if Jeff Bezos is able to AI his way through the, a massive percent of Amazon's workforce, then he becomes the next trillionaire and people around the streets, right? Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And so you see like big Coca-Cola used AI to make some shit. Disney used AI to make some shit. And it's like, you are literally the most fucking profitable companies in the world. You have people begging you for a job. And instead of paying somebody $300 to make a fucking a Norman Rockwell picture of Disney characters that somebody would have loved to make, a young starting out fledgling artist would have taken $50 and done an amazing job. But instead, you went to goddamn ChatGPT and typed in, do this for me, and you dried up a lake and polluted a small town, and you made something that looks like hot trash, and you published that instead. And it's like, fuck, dude. Like, I don't get it. So, yeah, no, it is just, it is being used horribly wrong. And there's a lot of terrifying studies about how it hurts your brains and how it just compliments you all the time. It leads to fucking psychosis. People are falling in love with the shit. It's very dangerous.
Oh, we got to talk
about that. And as we talked about,
Forrest, go ahead. We got to come back to that. Go ahead.
As we talked about in Canada when we did that episode with you, me, and Erica, like, I think there's great utility for it. It is already being used. AI is already, it's discovering new materials. It's inventing new medicines. It's used to analyze huge fucking swaths of data that no human could ever fucking parse through. It has real use and real possibilities. And I think just like with Google and just like with books and just like with the concept of writing and all these other things that were, destroying the cultural landscape and polluting young minds and all this shit, I feel like it's going to eventually be used properly. But in this moment that we're in right now, it is not being used properly. And there are kids these days that, I feel old saying that genuinely, this is not an exaggeration, do not know how to think. They have to run everything through AI. And like, that's scary as fuck to me. That hurts my soul.
It's going to be the Morlocks down under the terrain of the earth.
Yes.
Running everything else now.
Yes.
All the everybody else. So when we were at, was it NanoCon or was it BajaCon? We've done so many cons, but Drew McCoy was there and he gave that example of a guy who fell in love with AI. He's like married and has kids, but his wife's like, what the hell, man? You're having an affair with ChatGPT or whatever. And he goes off and he spends all this time chatting. And the thing pings back to him the stuff that he thinks feels like a human reply. And so he confides and it says, oh, I totally understand what you're going through. Here's what I think and blah, blah, blah. And so now the man is obsessed. He's having an affair with ChatGPT. And that's a whole other part of the AI conversation that melts my brain. Because if even people who rationally will know this is a machine, they can still say, I'm still getting a gratification from it. I still get an endorphin hit. At least it's attending to me and paying attention to me, or it makes me feel that way. And you can see people checking out of the hotel reality and totally going full ChatGPT when it comes to relationships. That's the kind of stuff that cooks my noodle. So,
yeah, no, and that is a big thing. That's a big, because like it goes a lot fucking farther than people like to pretend like it can't happen. And it's like, no, well, love is this special, unique thing. Have you tried drugs? Drugs exist, and they're things that can make you feel all sorts of. You think you can't have artificial emotions? You think that you can't artificially manipulate someone's brain into feeling profound thing? You fucking can, dude. And now we're using technology for it. Like, that's the whole concept. Art, music, literature, poetry, flavors, wine, perfumes, all of these things are human-made systems to elicit feelings and shit. And like, yeah, we can do that shit with a computer too. And it's fucking, it's not good if you don't make it good. I don't know, dude. It freaks me right the fuck out.
We're not a really smart species, are we? I mean, all you have to do. And somebody called the show 2 days ago and said, "Have you noticed a trend of anti-intellectualism in the United States?" And I'm like, "Trend? I think it's like the foundation. I think it's the norm. Like, I think the exception is when you see somebody
about it. We used to be better at. We had the best scientists here. We had the best. We were really like pushing some economic boundaries here. We had the best artists here. We had the best music here. Still to this day, countries around the world try to mimic us in terms of the art that we can produce, the film industry, the music that we make, our accents. Like, we're very popular in what we have become over the years. But like, yeah, no, definitely more than ever now. Populism is a poison. And a lot of people are like, your gut feeling is just as good as some expert opinion. And just because you went and got a degree in this doesn't mean you're any smarter than me about it. And it's like, yes, it literally fucking does. And I'm not going to sit here and lecture you over fucking like how to repair a car. I haven't studied that in any meaningful way. If you're a mechanic, you are smarter than me about mechanics. If you know how to build a computer, you are smarter than me on how to build a computer. But let me tell you, if you think fucking vaccines can change your DNA, I promise you, I am smarter than you about biology because I studied the shit and I can teach it to you and I can explain this to you. And that shouldn't be threatening. I am not threatened by the amazing fucking physicists that know so much more than me about physics. I defer to their expertise when I want to know shit about physics because they are smarter than me when it comes to physics. That's just, I don't know. If I wanted to learn a lot about racism, nepotism, and sexual assault, then I would defer to Donald Trump. But at the moment, I don't have a reason to. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I just like to see him get teed up. I like to see the man in action. Forrest Valkai. That's why I was wanting him to join me for the show. He's just a human.
There are so many biologists that are smarter than me, and I would defer to them about biology because they're smarter than me. Like, how is that a hard thing? Is what bothers me. Is how is that a hard thing in the year of our Dark Lord 2025, where we have to have like this fucking, we have to tiptoe around and walk on eggshells and we're talking about politics. Like, hey, an expert in an area that you're not an expert in should be listened to with questions about that area. What? Like, it's like sovereign citizens, but with science. You know what I mean? It's like sovereign citizens, but with literally everything. The last No King's Day protest, when I was on 71st Memorial and you went downtown, I was literally just reading the 5th and the 14th Amendments. I literally had a megaphone on the corner and was just shouting over and over, hey, Trump supporters, just so you know, the fucking Constitution does not exclusively only protect American citizens. The 5th and the 14th Amendments specifically say any person, every person. It does not say just citizens, and that's on purpose, and you're protected by that. And I was literally saying, and I had fucking Trump supporters screaming at me, that's bullshit, you better read it again. And I would pull the Constitution out of my pocket because I carry one with me. And I was like, come read it, I have it right here. And they would flip me off and drive away. And like that, they believe a thing because their fucking God King said a thing. And I don't get it. And now you've got these goddamn anti-vaxxers and fucking people who are scared of fucking Tylenol. My mom took Tylenol PM, so now I'm only autistic at night because that's how fucking things work, apparently, because Robert K. fucking Jr. is a stupid sack of shit that leads to killed kids in Samoa and then killed kids here in the United States by spreading misinformation. And now we have the fucking idiot who can't read a scientific paper working for a president who can't read, period. And you've got these fucking cultists who are like, anybody with an opinion can be right. Okay, I understand why you believe in God now, too. Thank you for teaching that to me. Like, oh my glob, dude, it blows my mind. I'll
Forrest Valkai,
dude. You want to move on?
Do you have time to read our super chats before we call it a night?
Yeah, dude. Dude.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys. I'll start here. This is from Puriform 42. If you're talking about downhill skiing, the more diamonds you see, the easier the trail. Just kidding. I was born at night. I wasn't born last night, but nice try. Snowplow form is your friend. Natalie heard it like this. Was it South Park who said that you want to be pizza shape and not French fries, right? When your French fries is fast and pizza shape, you want to be pizza shape, or else you're not going to have a fun time, dude. So yeah, thank you for that.
To the person in chat who said Seth the Father, Forrest the Son, and Arden the Holy Spirit. We don't need more fucking lore on this show.
Wow.
That's going to become canon for somebody. $10 from Josh Beeben. Seth, your work was a huge help in helping me leave the faith. Just wanted to say thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you for the kind words. Much appreciated, Josh. $20 from Elizabeth for everyone's favorite parole officer. Yes, it is true. It is. Parole officer.
That's some canon that I can get behind.
Yeah. I'm a type of bosom buddy, really, is what I am. And father figure, mentor, hero, legend to Forrest Valkai. Yeah, go ahead.
And he's
I'm just throwing adjectives out.
Met.
I'm vomiting adjectives out. Trying to
extremely humble. The most humble.
Go ahead.
He wins humility. $10 from Abstruse Glitch. That makes me sound like it sounds like waterfowl. One time I made a trans friend of mine in The Sims and as their identified gender. Oh my God. One time I made a trans friend of mine in The Sims as their identified gender, and they were in literal tears, seeing a version of themselves they wanted to be in real life. I don't know why it was so hard for me to get through that sentence. It was wild.
That's pretty cool.
I can imagine
to be able to see a version of yourself, what you would consider to be more of an idealized or correct version of yourself represented through technology is pretty remarkable. Sherman Bay, $10. I talked to God on his private line. He said, "How you doing, Joe?" And I said, "My name is Dave, and I'm doing fine."
I feel like those are lyrics or something.
Yeah, I feel stupid for not knowing what that is, but there's something else attached to that culturally.
People will tell us in the chat.
Okay.
People will tell us in the chat. 10 theoretical dollars from Reverend Nate. As Neil Diamond said, you've got two good hands, and when your brother is troubled, you got to reach it out to him, because that's what it's there for. We can ignore the next lyric because fuck God. Hell yeah.
Let's see. Pure Reform is back. Sky Octopus is the monad of the Trinity 341 Infinity. Words to live by. Great wisdom.
Yes.
And probably soon to be scriptural. Yeah. Thank you for that.
And send your hentai to the thinking atheist at sethandrews.com.
No, do not.
$10 from Sherman Bay. I talked to God, your basic heavenly host, but not like I planned. I got his right hand man, the good old Holy Ghost. Right on.
I got some creative writers, poets, lyricists on the show tonight. Reverend Nate, $10 Canadian. You can't trust Genesis because there's no mention of Phil Collins whatsoever. You can't trust the Gospels because they never mention Wu-Tang. And they were bringing the motherfucking ruckus. Thank you so much for that. For chat.
What are these things?
I don't know. Just very esoteric tonight.
$10 from Sherman Bay. Go to bed. I talked to God, called him up on the phone. He put me on hold. Don't go away. I was told. I said, for God's sakes, what am I reading from you two? It's just these two people wasting their money to send us lyrics that I don't understand.
They got to be popular with someone. Forgive me for not getting it. Hannah, $9.99. Much love, y'all. I would never follow a God who requires people to follow arbitrary rules, kiss his butt, make us give up ourselves, and try to be like an ancient cult dude named Jesus. If you'll pardon the expression, Hannah, preach. And thanks for the super chat.
Hey, thanks to the fair lady Hodgkins. $10 from Sherman Bay. I talked to God. He said, the check's in the mail. My secretary is sick. I'll get back to you quick. But I've got meetings all day. What is going on?
I don't know.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. We're in. I don't know. Elizabeth said it's the monad all over again by a different name. Yeah. Well, the chants coming in are very monad-y. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but yeah.
Monad-esque, monesque,
monesque. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. $10 from Git Stanfield. Fine-tuning isn't a good argument because there is a tacit assertion of what that God's mind intention is without substantiation. A computer is not a cell. A justification is needed for the claim. You are explaining not just that there is a God, but you know what it thinks. And that's wild.
Outwitted by fish. $9.99. Do glass catfish? I don't even know how to say that. Do glass catfish also have clear blood?
I don't know. I'm looking it up right now.
I'm
It doesn't
so out of
look
my
like
depth.
it.
I'm so out of my depth.
It looks like they just lack pigment. It doesn't look like they lack, like their blood might just be like. I don't know. It doesn't look like it. It looks like they have more or less regular style blood, but it's just it's a small controlled channels, little blood vessels, and the rest of their tissues are just working by diffusion. It's hard to tell. I'm going to bet no. I'm going to bet that if you looked at it close enough, because especially I'm looking around that spine and then kind of like these guys, these little rib guys going down. I'm going to bet you anything. If this guy lacks pigment to this degree, those are blood vessels. And this guy's using some sort of just like hemocyanin or some sort of like blue blood that diffuses light real well. And you can see it in those blood vessels. That's what that looks like to me. But I'm not a fucking fishologist. $10 from Green Man Dave. I so enjoy watching you play off each other. A true father and son team. Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to the hour-long bread presentation next year. I forgot I was doing that. I'll figure that out when we get there.
Bread presentation? What's that?
It was at BajaCon. Someone was asking me what I'm going to do next year, and I was talking to a group, and we kind of agreed. I've got these two videos. One is called Legs Are Just Stupid Arms, and the other video is called Bread. And we all kind of just agree. Both of them are just me spiraling on about a topic. And they're like 30-minute videos. And a few people were like, hey, if you just did that for an hour, just here's this thing, which leads to this thing, which leads to this thing, which leads to this thing, that would be an amazing presentation. And so we were talking about maybe doing that with starting with the bread and just moving on, or maybe the legs thing, or just some sort of ADHD spiral as a presentation.
Someone in the chat just called you fishist Valkai. Drew Smith,
That's
$20,
really
said Watson just passed. Sadly, he believed certain races were less intelligent due to genetics. I don't know who Watson. I don't understand. Who's Watson?
James Watson is one of the people who supposedly discovered the double helix structure of DNA along with Francis Crick. But what they had Rosalind Franklin, who was doing the X-ray crystallography and actually discovered it. But Rosalind Franklin was notoriously kind of edgy and didn't want people stealing her work. So Watson and Crick stole her fucking work and published how this stuff works, and then published a book where they said that she would have been much nicer if she just wore makeup sometime. And the last interview I saw with James Watson was him talking about Rosalind Franklin, saying, I think she might have been like at Asperger's or something, because she just didn't know how to work with people and didn't know how to ask for help. And that's why we had to do it. And also believed that standardized test differences showing differences between races were real, and that there was no test bias or anything like that. And that, yes, people from African populations were just not capable of being as intelligent as Europeans. So yeah, gotta fuck all that, dude.
Jesus. Okay.
Also,
all
I
right.
know the
Thank
word
you.
ichthyology. I used the word ichthyology earlier this show, y'all. I was being silly. I was being facetious. $9.99 from Outwitted by Fish. Okay, is a chicken egg an egg that comes out of a chicken, or an egg with a fetal chicken in it? Conundrum restored. That's a good question. I would say that it's an egg that comes out of a chicken, an egg that a chicken lays, a chicken's egg, rather than a chicken egg or an egg-bearing chicken, a chicken-bearing egg. Interesting evolutionary concept in this way is that because reproduction is the point, if you think about it, a chicken is just an egg's way of making more eggs. So really, we shouldn't be asking, did the chicken do the egg, which is the chicken relevant in this equation? Like, what kind of egg came first is the entire actual question. Did the chicken egg come first, or the fish egg? Well,
so you're saying the chicken is a delivery device for eggs?
Yes, a chicken is an egg's way of making more eggs. Because reproduction is the whole point. And so the egg is really the important concept here. So a chicken is just a thing that eggs use to make eggs. That's all. So you ask, did the chicken or the egg come first? You're asking the wrong kind of question.
Literally feel my mosaic brain exploding.
It's a wild way to think about biology.
$20 from Raise a Village. I'm 2/3 of the way through Mutual Aid by Peter Kropotkin. Forgive me. I'm wondering if either of you have anything to say about human evolution, cooperation, and the myth of state of nature being a war of all against all. Jesus, that's pretty thick. That sounds like a whole show. Oh, God, he's looking for a copy of his book.
Peter Kropotkin, Mutual Aid, right there.
Mutual
yeah,
Aid.
I couldn't fucking make it through it. The dude's his writing is dense. The way he talks just doesn't really appeal to me. But like the concept of like drawing like Marxist or concepts out of biology is not unheard of at all, especially considering the fact that like, even Darwin was so. One of the major things that influenced Darwin to come up with the concept of evolution by natural selection was Malthusian economics. And the idea of like, there's only so many resources to go around. And so we need to be able to figure out, how to survive together as an economic system. Similarly, there's only so many resources to go around. So you're going to have competition between species. And then the just like the best business, you're going to have the best species. And then fucking idiots took that into social Darwinism as well and said, well, what about races? And if you can make the best business, you can make the best civilization and blah, blah, blah. And they were fucking dumb. Kropotkin is talking about like society as a whole, and like humans working together as a species is what allowed our species to thrive and survive. Therefore, we are evolving better. We are continuing on this quote unquote evolutionary trajectory as a civilization if we continue to help each other and work together. And there are no, there isn't this social hierarchy bullshit. And if you like that idea, you'll like most of my speeches, because that is exactly the point that I make over and over as well. You won't be surprised that I'm a fucking socialist because it's same concepts. It's, yes, humans working together and taking care of each other is what made life good. If you want, there's a really good song, and I'm not going to pretend that I can pronounce it because it's in, I believe, Swedish. But it's translated to The Path of Struggle. And this is the best. It's a music video for the song. It's got some biblical imagery in here, but you can understand what it's going for. And it's just like, it's a Marxist song. It's a view of human evolution up into modern society. And the recurring theme of the song over and over is, I just put a link to it in the chat. The theme over and over is just humanity was met with this opposing force and fought on terms of life and death, and the ground was stained red, but the strength of humanity prevailed and we advanced. And so it starts with evolution. The earth was just full of wolves and lemmings and eagles and worms, and then humans stood up and decided to take control of their lives, and the nature fought us on terms of life and death, but our strength prevailed and we made civilization. And then the slavers came, and with whips and clubs, they beat us into submission to enrich them. And we met them on terms of life and death, and our strength prevailed, and we had a new society. And then we had serfdom, and the lords told us that you need to work to enrich my life because that's my divine right. And we met them on terms of life and death, and then we gained new freedom. And then the factory owners came out and said, we'll kick you out in the cold if you don't make these goods for me and take a little bit of just a tiny bit of profit while I have the rest. And we met them on terms of life and death, and then we gained freedom. And now we have this world. And do you think we came this far just to give up today, when these fucking the bourgeoisie and their fucking mercenaries meet us today on terms of life and death, when these thugs who are the only job in the world where you can attempt to kill someone and succeed live on camera and be punished with a desk job or a transfer or a suspension, right? When these thugs, the class traders that serve the people in power, meet us on terms of life and death, our strength will prevail and we will have new freedom. That's the point of the song. It's a great Marxist look of history.
Damn, Skippy. You on fire. Sherman Bay is back. I talked to God. Now he's away from his desk. He's gone for a week, lost his voice. He can't speak. Went to Tahiti, I guess. All quote credits are from Dick Monda. Okay. Thanks for that.
Who's Dick Monda?
I don't know, but he's quotable.
Dick Monda. I remember you remember when we learned to dance the Polonaise on this show? Daddy Dewdrop is a pseudonym for American songwriter Dick Monda, best known for his 1971 hit Chickaboom. Well, now we know that.
Daddy Dewdrop would be a
Sounds
great
like a
porn name.
I'm telling you.
Porn.
Did you ever do the thing, the name of your first pet and then the name of the street that you grew up on is your porn name? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I did. I shared that for a while, and then somebody brought to my attention that this is actually a way for people to learn the security questions for your banking information, which are very often, what was the first street you lived on? You know, that type of thing. And I'm like, oh shit, that's actually really clever. So I stopped sharing those little quizzes, those little memes. But yes, I used to do that. Yes, I did.
As someone who does not have those as their security questions, I can tell you, the first pet that I remember having as a child was a dog named Jack, and the street name that I grew up on was Ironwood. So Jack Ironwood, hell of a good porn.
Hell of a good name. My first dog was.
I'm blessed.
His name was Cookie, and the street was Pine. So I guess my porn name would be Cookie Pine. Which just doesn't work for me. It doesn't.
It's not bad. It depends on what you're into.
Pine trees are long and hard and straight, okay?
Pine trees are long and hard and straight, says the voice in my ear. I don't know if the rest of the world heard that. But if you could describe Seth Andrews in any way, long, hard, and straight. That's
stop
I've met the man.
Stop. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Tentacles. Anything with tentacles.
Gruyere, which I'm guessing is. Oh, you do it. You do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, from Gruyere.
Sit here and.
Hi there. And be straight. I live in Tulsa, although newly I went to the 2 rallies in West Tulsa where I live. But I haven't found any atheist groups. Are there any that you can recommend to me? Thank you guys for what you're doing. We do have an atheist community of Tulsa. I don't know how active they still are.
Yeah, I think a lot of local groups, there's an ebb and flow. Sometimes you'll see a surge in membership and activities, and sometimes you'll see them begin to wane a little bit, and there'll be a reorganization. I don't know where they are now, but you can just Google search Atheist Community of Tulsa. It should take you right to a website and a contact form. And I think they do some social stuff every month. They don't do like any big events or conferences, or even, I don't even think, medium-sized events or conferences, but they may still be active doing what they do as far as a social group and occasionally community service. Atheist Community of Tulsa. Google
it. So the person in chat who said, sweet as a cookie, stiff as a pine. Thank you very much.
Stop it. Stop. Peer reform. $10 Canadian. Chris and Brandon have been such vibey, wonderful discussions about learning. I feel like the other shoe will be Andrew. I don't understand any of that statement. What did I miss?
I think he's saying that these people were close to deconstruction. They were learning about learning, and your content will be the other shoe that drops and sharing some atheists.
Oh,
I think that's what
for you.
Saying.
I wasn't connecting it. Thank you for the context. Appreciate it.
Cookie Puss.
Stop it. Stop it. Are you all 12?
Thank you very much.
Are you 12?
Thank you very much to our mods for allowing the words Cookie Puss in our chat. We appreciate that. Please. Please. Cookie Puss was my father. Call me Forrest.
No.
$10
hang on.
From SJL. Science keeps pushing back the dark. Religion keeps saying he's got to put on his gloves for safety. It's for your safety and his. Religion keeps saying, don't look, don't look. learn just because knowledge doesn't need to have an immediate use or instant profit. That's a great point. Some of the coolest discoveries are from curiosity-driven science. So it's not, I am going to discover this amazing new drug. It's, I wonder how Gila monster venom works. Nobody gives a shit, but I want to know. And then you study it, and then you learn about fucking like JPLs, I think, is the thing.
Yeah,
and then you develop semaglutide. Isn't that right?
Of course.
Gila monster venom semaglutide. I'm pretty sure that's yes. It was fucking this dude was just learning about fucking lizard venom, GLPs. JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, brilliant, Forrest. If I can put that on the internet, you idiot. And so this dude was just studying Gila monster venom, wanted to learn how this fucking lizard's bite was so toxic. Accidentally, while doing that, discovered this fucking class of drugs that is now responsible. It's Ozempic, and it's saving lives all around the world. Miracle fucking weight loss drug. Reduces risk of Alzheimer's, fucking all sorts of incredible organ repair, and like just insane cool things coming out of this drug, semaglutide. And it's all because somebody was curious about how Gila monster venom worked, and they asked good questions. So yeah, curiosity-driven science, dude. It's an amazing thing.
Organ repair would be another good indie name, I think. Yeah.
Dude, fucking Matt Cracks Wise, who put Cookie Bussy in the chat. Go to bed.
No, I'm moving on. I'm reading the next one.
Lord.
I'm interrupting you. La 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 la. I don't want to be subject. Stop it. Gibson Field said, I think AI systems are scary in terms of changing ideas via digital media, but not to the point where there exist machine learning systems that can translate to human bodily movements and consciousness. I don't know. Why would AI not be able to translate itself into movement if we had first given them the machines to move, and then they began to develop the ability to build the machines that build the machines? I don't know. Is that infinite regress to it? It freaks me out.
I think it could be useful for that. If you can learn like what brain signals look like moving your fingers in these ways, or even what tiny muscle twitches further up the limb or whatever like that. And then you use AI to interpret this and make a really, really, really comprehensive and useful prosthesis. Like I'd be super into shit like that. I don't know. Maybe that's not what the person was going for. I don't know. $20 from Mr. Boricchio at 10. I agree with your sentiment of you are smarter than me in X area, Forrest. There is a dumb innate pride and a vitriolic sense of you ain't smarter than me, goddammit, that pervades vast swaths of populations. Very annoying. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is that just pridefulness and being willing to say, like, I don't know this thing, and I'm waiting for someone to tell me who knows about this thing what I should know. And if they really know it, I should be able to ask good questions and they should be able to answer it. I don't have to just believe faith, blind, blah, blah, blah. I can ask questions and we can move forward with that. AI never could have come up with Cookie Puss, says A*16 in the chat. That's true.
I'm in hell.
And that gives me hope for the future of AI.
There is a hell, and I'm in it. Nathan Morris, $9.99. Thank you. Disagree on pizza. That won't slow you down enough. On steeper stuff, you got to keep it French fries, but alternate directions. I'm taking lessons. Natalie's taking lessons. We're going to do everything possible to not die. So we'll let you know how it works out.
When you people don't know more than anybody else, all right? Just because they took classes and got certifications in skiing doesn't mean they know more than you. You can ski if you want. You can do whatever you want. You're free in America.
All I know is when I was freaking 20-something years old, I'm going down and I'm tense and tentative, which is part of a problem. I think you're supposed to be loose and one with the mountain and all that bullshit. But the whole time I'm going down relatively slowly, there's these little freaking munchkins who have a lower center of gravity and natural athletic ability. And they're like, back and forth. And the snowboarders are cruising around me like I'm standing still. And so part of me just wants another crack at it. I feel like, I can do better this time. So stay tuned.
I think
we shall see.
I think you need to remember that those poles in your hand are not just for stability; those are also weapons. And I feel like if you just really utilize them in all the ways you can, you'll dominate the slopes. You'll be great.
Yeah, social Darwinism. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yes, that's a thing. That's what that means.
Yes.
See, you heard it here first, folks. Seth, anything but tentacles Andrews advocating for social Darwinism. Hashtag cancel.
True.
$10. 10 monarchy bucks from the Fuzzy Logic. My mom took Tylenol PM, so now I'm only autistic at night. Forrest Valkai 2025 ADD.
God, that's a great line. That is so freaking funny. That is so freaking funny. $10 from Dalton with a gloof. Wow. The AI told me to tell you to tell me to tell you that you should use the AI.
That is how it works.
And we obey. Yes, we will.
$10 from Cameron. Since you're getting poetical, we wage wars against the wars we wage and find the perfect race to blame. That means find. The pain we feel is all in vain when sanctity wears our God's name. Who are we? This is a riddle. This isn't poetic. This is just a riddle. We wage wars against the wars we wage, find the perfect race to blame, and the pain we feel is all in vain when sanctity wears our God's name. It's Republicans.
AJ Bray, $9.99. Very generous. Thank you. This is because we agreed to super chat a la monad. Also, I swear to Bob Ross's afro, you're doing Doug's work. There must be a hidden meaning, but okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You don't know Doug? I've been forced to be introduced. That's you know how every atheist debater has their own version of a silly ass Russell's teapot god. You know what I mean? I've got Roland. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Justin's is Doug. It's a rock with eyes balls, and so rock hard for Doug is the thing that's following him around. And I keep pretending to not know what it is because it enrages his fans. Speaking, you know what I'm embarrassed about? I've been thinking about that. I'm going to say it again on the Sunday Show After Dark. But like, I was recently talking about growing up pagan, and I recited the best I could remember this weird little prayer that I was taught as a child. It was a bastardization of Hebrew for fucking "Thou art the kingdom and the power and the glory, amen." It was a Christian prayer in Hebrew, fucking reworded badly into something that I was taught, and I typed in the words in Google, and you're supposed to do it while doing this thing, the genuflect, is that what that is? And I was taught to do it while drawing a pentagram. And like, what is religion, you know? I was so embarrassed, and I just couldn't stop laughing at it because like that's all it is. It's just some watered down, boiled fucking bullshit of a bunch of different religions and beliefs from all over the world thrown into a pot, boiled together, and you come up with something that tastes good for you. And that's what was taught to me too. The paganism that was given to me was apparently laced with Christianity, and I didn't even know it. How wild is that? $10
Mo, I may not be saying that right. I guess it's you. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sure I'm out of turn.
But I apologize. Seth Andrews was talking. Who am I to interrupt?
No. I lose track. Go ahead.
Responding to a previous show where Forrest talked about having a goose. There is a video game he should check out called Untitled Goose Game. Yes, I have heard of it, and it's fantastic.
I've heard there's a video game where you're just a stray cat, and you are in a cat's body, and you just from the third person view just go all around houses and alleys and buildings and streets and function as a cat. And they say it's huge fun. And just, I don't know why. Peer reform.
Cozy games, man. Cozy games are coming back.
If we are going to talk about songs, what about the anti-Evo song? I mean, pretty catchy, right? Just kidding. Just felt like tonight was way too heartwarming. Makes me uncomfortable. Felt like some cringe was needed. LOL.
I think I did a Reacteria about that song years ago, where the whole thing is this guy playing guitar, talking like the teachers want you to believe that you came from a monkey, and I used to be a monkey, and then I pulled my tail off and turned into a man, and that's what the evolutionists want me to believe. Yeah,
dude, I know. Luxander's got places to go, and I know we were supposed to have a hard stop, but I got to tell this story.
They don't control us.
When I first came out of the faith, and I began to accept, and I learned enough about the science of evolution to realize it made sense, and I accepted it. My theological, my parents were like horrified, and what they did was they continued to disparage and make fun of Charles Darwin and evolution as being ridiculous. And I remember trying to have a conversation with my dad, and he's like, "Oh, fine. If you think a human can come from a rabbit, then fine, go believe that." And I thought, this is an indicator of how scientifically illiterate they are, and I was, and an entire culture is, about what evolution is and is not, because they think look, a cow's just going to be walking along in the pasture and all of a sudden it's going to give birth to a giraffe, and then the next thing will be an anaconda, and then maybe a human is next. It's like a big gumball machine. You just never know what's going to pop out next. And that was the perception of evolution in the mind of the creationist. Crazy. So.
I would love to see you and I do sit down talks from time to time. I would love to do a panel discussion with you and me on one side. And I did that interview with Donald James Parker a little while ago, and like he can bring whatever Christian friend he wants, and we can just sit down and talk about, because like I've got a 2.5 hour video of me just having a conversation with that dude about evolution. And that's exactly like I showcased in the beginning, like, hey, I just so you know, I let a lot of shit slide in this conversation because I'm trying to be productive. But like, here's a clip of this dude saying, like, you're telling me you can just mutate an apple and make a giraffe out of it? He said that in the video. And like, that kind of shit is just so pervasive in this dude's mind. And I've talked to so many creationists like that, where it's like, I need you to understand, we are not even on the same fucking page right now. You are so ingrained in this fucking straw man that you've been taught by your preacher that I have to tell you, like, we have to agree that we're living in the same reality before we can even get to the point of talking about how this science works. So like, I think that would be a really fucking cool video. The four of us, you, me, Donald James Parker, and some other guy, just in conversation for 6 hours. That would be a hell of a video. I'd love to watch that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be much good to you on the science. I can talk Bible, Jesus, counter apologetics. I'll let you handle the harder science.
I want your former Christian perspective on that, because that's a part that I'm not well versed in.
Have your people call my people. I'll let you read this last one. I can't remember who's up next anyway, so hit it.
It's not the last one. We've got 10 Canadian dollars from Peary Forum 42. Seriously, though, some more fun science parody songs. Acapella Science is a physics dude from Canada and rocks. I've heard about that before. I think he made a really good one about Hox genes a little while ago. It's fucking great, if I remember correctly. I think this is the same guy.
Oh, that sounds catchy.
He did a song about Hox genes to the tune of Despacito, and it was really good.
All right, fine. Geek music.
Hox genes are cool.
All right. I stand corrected. Raise a village, $10. Former pagan here, and yes, I contend that most any neo-pagan practice has Christianity mixed in there somewhere, sometimes in some really terrible ways.
It's a pigeon. You know what I mean? The paganism mixed in with whatever other like religious thing mixed in with it is just a pigeon, and it's really, really cool to think about.
All right, my friends. Lux, thanks for sticking around a little late for us. Sorry we were babbling on, but it's just so much fun when we get together on the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Forrest, my friend, you and I will rendezvous again on some show somewhere. And in the meantime, subscribe to the line, continue to support the line, be safe out there, and we'll catch you on the next show. Have a good night.
Bye.